Gentlemen, if we could find a seat and we'll get started. That is here for the Medline issue. I am going to pull it up to the top once that is over so that we can handle that and have time to do that and get it done. So that way you don't have to go through the whole meeting and so forth. So we'll do that. I'm just going to ask you to just be patient. There's a lot of things that'll be said tonight that need to be said for people that have served this community for a very long time, and everyone on the council will have a chance to do that. As members of the council, when we get to that, if you don't mind, if you want to say something, when we get to someone, would you please just hit your button and then I can call on you. I just ask you, you know, we asked the audience and residents to 3 minutes. If we could stay within 3 minutes on some of these personal ones when it's over, it would be appreciated, and we could move on and get to the council meeting. So with that said, I'd like to welcome everyone here. And the first thing I'd like to do is call on Mr. Balisaro.
Thank you, sir. What I'm going to do is call Sammy Deje to do the pledge. Sam, would you please come up? Anyway, this is going to be interesting. Before we get started, Sammy, what I want to do is ask you a question. When I read this script, the first thing popped into my mind was, why would someone your age would have such a love for reading books?
Because when you read articles, you gain lots of information. In the articles I read, I learn a lot of new words, and also I get to see like around the world.
All right, thank you very much. I'm pleased. Here's what I have is the write-up, which is fantastic. Sammy is the son of Navy Lieutenant Commander Jamal Delji and Sumia Delji. He's an 11-year-old who loves playing video games. He was born in Germany, but has lived and visited many places around the world. His favorite place to live and go to school was Cambodia. That's interesting. Sammy uses a computer program at school called Achieve 3000 as an enrichment to the curriculum. He became a top point scorer for Riverside, and he then became goal-oriented, setting his mind to become the top scorer in the state of Louisiana. He has achieved this multiple times. Through the encouragement of his teacher, Jennifer Zaccanelli, who was in the audience, and his classmates, he set the goal to become the worldwide top scorer and worked until the goal became a reality. On November 14th, Sammy became the worldwide daily top scorer. Sammy, thank you. Congratulations. You can start the pledge now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, young man, and you really are an inspiration. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sammy.
Mr. Smith, would you lead us in the invocation, please?
Let us bow. And dear God, we come once again with bowed heads and humble hearts just to say thank you for this blessed opportunity, dear God, that you've afforded us once again to assemble ourselves at this place that you provided. We thank you, oh God, for this morning's rising, last night's lying down, watching over us as we slumbered in our sleep. And early this morning, without any reservation or hesitation known to us, you reached down with the finger of love and you touched our bodies and enabled us to see another day, a day that was not promised to us in the beginning. But because of your grace and your love and your mercy, oh God, you saw fit to let us walk around your beautiful creation another day. And we are eternally grateful and just want to say thank you. Dear God, as we approach you again, we want to ask a special prayer for those among us who have served in this parish, dear God, faithfully to help us to enhance the quality of life for its citizens. And we pray, oh God, that you would bless them as they continue their endeavors beyond this point. And dear God, this meeting, we pray that it will be a meeting that is pleasing to you. And in the end, we'll be so very careful to give you all the praise, honor, and glory. For it's in Jesus' name we ask it all. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dean? Here. Mr. Fitzgerald? Here. Mr. Thompson? Here. Mr. Toledano? Present. Mr. Tanner? Mr. Belisario?
Here.
Mr. Lorino?
Here.
Mr. Groby? Mr. Canulet? Here. Ms. O'Brien? Mr. Stefanczyk? Mr. Bender? Ms. Blanchard? Mr. Smith? You have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Let me just read a couple of things. Public comment. A 3-minute time limit is established for each member of the public wishing to speak for or against an item on the agenda, except an appeal. So anyone wishing to speak on any item tonight or have any item pulled, would you please fill out a card if you haven't done so, that we can have that and move forward. Also for appeals, but I don't think we have any appeals tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct. You're correct.
So we don't have to do that. So anyway, let's go to special items. Ordinance number 1, ordinance calendar number 6241, ordinance to adopt the 2020 operating budget. Okay. I should have a motion. Motion by Mr. Canulet, second by Ms. O'Brien. Mr. Hernandez?
Thank you. Caller Hernandez. I guess I misunderstood. I thought you were going to put the 99% of the other people first before this, but I'm glad they're going to get to hear me.
Mr. Hernandez, you attend every meeting. You deserve to go first. Okay? So you take your time and you go right ahead, sir.
Thank you. I don't know if you can tell I'm blushing right now. Thanks. I want to thank the administration, Pat Brister, Leslie Long and her staff, and the parish council, the finance committee chair, Mr. Toledano, for holding a special meeting just recently regarding the capital and the operating budget. It was a very informative meeting. It answered a lot of my questions that I had, and it was interesting that many of the council members who were present asked some of the questions I was thinking about, and there was no need for me to say anything at the time. One of the interesting things is that, the press covered this, that the there are outside agencies right now that are proposing certain salary increases. And I see that we have amendments coming up where it would take into consideration the parish agencies to accommodate some slight increase for them. I think that in the future, it was pointed out that the funds that are presently available, the so-called reserve or excess funds, I don't know if you want to call them excess, that are presently available will be running out in the near future. And it was stated that in 2020, there was going to be, I think, a proposal to look at additional revenues for the upcoming years. One of the things that was suggested at the meeting was the selling of the of utility agencies that the parish presently owns. That's for another day. One of the other things that was considered was looking at, obviously, the possibility of looking at additional fees or revenues for the upcoming years. And one of the things that, of course, I like to talk about are the fees that presently are waived by the council. And I want to thank the vast majority of the council members that did not waive any fees or sponsor any waiver of fees this past year. In years past, it's been anywhere from $5,000, $6,000 to $8,000 in fees that have been waived, and that was not even close. This year was slightly over $1,000 at fees that were waived. But still, I think the waiver of fees is still something I think that the parish council, given the critical nature of the funding situation, is something I hope that will not take place in 2020. I just want to, again, suggest that maybe one of the things that can be done to increase fees is to place online for the public to see the permits that are being considered or approved by the parish. I think virtually everyone knows that if you have a permit, any work that's required in the parish, virtually every work needs some kind of permit. Usually there are fees associated with these permits. And with that, if the public knew that these permits have been proposed or approved, they would know that the fees hopefully have been paid for that. If not, if these permits are not, if they look at and they see work going on next door to them or nearby, they could see online and see, well, are these permits available? The only people right now that get to see the permits are the people who actually apply for the permits. The general public does not. Only the people who apply for the permits get to see what the status is. I would hope that would change and that everyone gets to see that information. And I would hope that then the people would know that, hey, there's something going on here. I don't see any permits. I don't see them online. I need to call, and we know that unfortunately as inspectors is something that we don't have much funding for, that the parish would, I'm sure, be happy to hear from the public to find out about that. One last note for me, on Lighting District number 6, which is close to where I live, in I-12 and Highway 1088, the description that's online right now is incorrect. And what I would hope that be corrected, that's for another day. But just to let you know that there's been a pole which has been fairly newly constructed, which is laying on the ground right now. And I would hope that something could be done about that in the near future. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hernandez, caller, thank you very much. But I just want to say one other thing. We had those hearings. We had numerous hearings, and you attended every one Mr. Toledano had. And you, with all the people in St. Tammany Parish, were the only person that was sitting in here paying attention and listening, and you were able to see that we do ask some of the questions that you were thinking about at those meetings. And I just want to say thank you for coming, and I wish some other people would do the same.
I would encourage everyone else to come to these. Are very informative meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we had a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Thank you. Number 2, under special items, ordinance calendar number 6242, ordinance to establish the 2020 through 2024 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Thank you. We'll go to presentations now. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight will be an emotional night for many of us, especially me, so I will try to do the best to get through the night. You have always allowed me to come up and introduce our Employee of the Month. I am very sorry that we couldn't introduce every employee that really does deserve extra recognition for the extra work they do. So tonight, instead of an Employee of the Month, I'm going to ask all of the employees that are here that work for this parish to please stand while I talk about them for a little bit. So all of you, stand up. Stand up. Stay standing. I want you all to look at them, and there, thank you. These are the people that make everything work in this parish. And they've done it for years, and they've done it professionally by the rules that are set by this council. I could not be more proud to have worked with these people for 8 years, many of them, and 8 years when I was on the council for many of them. So I personally wanted to thank them for what they do every day to make me look good and to make you all look good too. But this is something that I will bring up over and over again. These are the employees. When there's an emergency, these employees leave their families to take care of themselves while they come to our Emergency Operations Center to take care of your families. I can never, ever thank them enough, nor can anybody else here in this parish thank them enough for giving up that responsibility to their families to take care of our families in this parish. So thank you all. I love you all, and you'll see more of them. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam President. I think I might go ahead and take about an hour off for a little while and come back in a few minutes. Okay. But anyway, as we know, we move on and we forge ahead. I'll get it. Someone told me a long time ago when I had a tragedy that you can't stand still, you can't go back, you must go forward. And I've always tried to keep that in the back of my mind for everything. And tonight is one of those nights that little plaque that I have on my desk came into play before I headed over here to St. Tammany. And I have a lot more to say, but I just wanted to say that. Thank you. Mr. Toledano.
Yes, sir. Item 2.
You have to wake up.
Oh, yeah,
Mike.
pardon me, I'm
Please,
sorry.
please wake up.
I was just saying words, but no, Ms. Core, I've talked to Ms. Core, and in view of what we thought to be the agenda tonight, we're deferring her presentation until January. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Record. Appreciate it. Okay, number 3, presentation to outgoing members. Before we get on to that, outgoing members, I would be very remiss if I didn't move forward to incoming members. And that's very important in what I just said a few minutes ago about moving forward. Tonight, we have President-elect Mr. Mike Cooper in the audience. And I'd like to have, Mike, if you would like to come up to the podium, sir. Before you get started, you know, we met this week along with Mr. Toledano. And as I said, I know the members sitting up here. I know the members that are sitting out there that will be coming up here. And everybody has one thing on their mind and one thing that they want to achieve. And that is to keep St. Tammany as great as it is now and moving forward. And you have my full 1,000% commitment to do that, as I know you have the members up here. So it's a pleasure to see you. I'm going to say personally, I told you the other day, congratulations. And the mic is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lorino. And it was a great opportunity to meet with you and Mr. Toledano and many of the other members, if not all of you, over the past couple of weeks. It is an honor to be standing here this evening in anticipation of taking office on January 13th. I want to, first of all, thank the citizens of St. Tammany for the trust that they've put in me to lead St. Tammany for the next 4 years. I want to say that I'm looking forward to serving and working with our new parish council, which will be made up of 4 new members. And I want to wish those who have served and are now won't be with us in January, wish each and every one of you the very best. We've got a lot of challenges. Like you say, we've got a great parish. We have many challenges. And I certainly look forward to working with you, other elected officials, our business community, our builders, our developers, and everybody who has an impact on our parish. So we look forward to it, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mike. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce a couple of incoming members to the council. Ms. Martha Casaban, elected in District 3. Congratulations. Mr. Jimmy Davis. District 7. Mr. Mike Smith, District 9. And Mr. Jake Airy, District 13. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, and we're looking forward in January to have you here and helping us work along with the parish, the new parish president, and keep St. Tammany going in a great direction. And simple fact that I just introduced a lot of incoming people. That means there's a few outgoing people. And so I have a little chart here, but I like to deviate from the chart a little bit and do it my way as normal. But anyway, the first thing I'd like to do is, would you get me Jake's award? First of all, I came in 4 years ago, and it was my first experience in government, and so it was quite a learning experience. And one of the first meetings we had an issue with a recreation district in Lacombe, and being new and not knowing anything at all, I came up with an idea that we should form a committee, and it happened to be in Jake's district. And people told me that, hey, Mike, you're not supposed to do that. That falls under, the district representative. I said, oh, well. But nevertheless, we did. And that was my first experience working with Jake. And I believe since that time, the Lacombe Rec District that we worked together on with a few other councilmen, Mr. Smith, Mr. Toledano, and I can't think of who else was on there. Time passes, but it's worked very well. But I learned one thing about Jake. Jake cares about the people, and he cares about his constituents in District 7. So with great honor, Jake has served 8 years. If I'm not mistaken, I think Jake has said he term limited himself out, and that's what he wanted to do, and he's standing by it. And congratulations on that. So with great honor, my friend, I'd like to present you this little plaque and let you have the mic. You have the floor, Mr. Ruby.
Thank you, Chair. It has been an honor and privilege to serve the citizens of District 7, Lacombe, and Mandeville, and a little piece of Abita Springs, so to speak. When you're sitting up here, one of the first things I was most nervous about was slipping on the mic with a bad word. Your first couple of meetings, you don't say anything because you're just afraid you're gonna mess up on live TV. Working with the council members as we have, I told Jimmy earlier, it ain't personal, it's politics. You can't make it personal. And that was the first thing Mr. Hemway told me before he even took office. We had met, and he says, set your feelings aside, handle the district of the business. It's not personal. And that's the best advice I can give all the new councilmen coming in. You'll be up here, you'll be mad, you'll leave a meeting, you won't shake hands, just, why didn't they support me? But it's the good of the whole is what it really comes down to. And honestly, bringing honor upon my family. I'm the only person so far that's ever been elected to public office, and my wife has stood by me, and we've had a lot of long hours. I cannot do this job without your wife or your support of your family. And my wife has stood by me, Deirdre, and give up many nights and watch the kids if we had something to do and go places without me because of the council work, which is fine. But without her, this job would have been 10 times as hard. The staff here, all of the girls who work for us, or Council Administrator Don Henderson, or legal team, the new councilman, you won't know where the bathroom is for about 3 months until they show you, quite frankly. They show you how to do things, how to say things, how to introduce things. It is an honor and privilege to work with all of you, and it is a deep, deep thank you for the staff. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jake. And, Mr. Toledano still hadn't figured out where the bathroom and things like that's located yet.
He hasn't figured out where the microphone is either.
Okay. We'll go. The next gentleman sitting to the right of me, Mr. Gene Balisero. Gene's been serving on the council for 12 years, but he goes back a few years in other government positions. Gene and I met, as I said, when I came in. We worked together. And for this past year, Gene has been the vice chair. And if I needed anything, if I did something wrong, or if he had an idea, he always kind of kept me in line. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate the time we spent very close this last year, also in the prior years.
Right.
But I can tell you, he always took his district and his people to heart. He worked hard. He gave his time. His lovely wife, Mary Kay, served on the school board for a number of years. So that family has dedicated so much time and effort to St. Tammany Parish that it's hard to believe. And I just want to say, personally, thank you very much for helping me along the way. And thank you very much for your 12 years and your years prior to that. And also thank you for the Tammany Utilities Work Group. You got that started. We made a lot of progress, and we have a lot of work to do.
Right.
But on behalf of the parish, I just want to say thank you, Gene.
you.
Congratulations, my friend.
Okay.
And all
Thank
the
you.
best.
Thank you. I sincerely appreciate this. What a lot of people don't know, I just don't like my constituents. I love them. They're like family to me. They always have been. I've lived in the Military Road area since 1984. I became active in January of 1985. At the end of this month, will show you can already see it'll be 35 years of community involvement or political involvement. And the only person who has more than that is my wife. She was in PTAs from 1984 and then in public office for 24 years. And you don't know what it is to have two elected officials at the dining room table debating, is the school board's process more favorable than the parish government's case? I mean, there were many times we were disagreeing on budgeting, changing laws, you name it. You know, which one was better? It was always the way it was, and we would end up laughing over it and then have a drink afterwards. And that's what you have to do. As Jake said, I never got mad at council members. I never got mad at my constituents who disagreed with me. I've been fortunate there's not a whole lot of them, and that's fine. What I like about my people is they would tell me how they felt on an issue. When I had my community meetings, I knew what my direction was, because my people would tell me on everything what they believed in, and that's why I was able to run against 5 people and win with almost 60%. Then I was unopposed the second and third time. I was going to run a 4th time until my wife and I talked about retirement. She knew if I ran one more time, I would win, and I would not take time off for myself, because I've always put my constituents in my church first. And I'll never change from that, but while retiring, I'll be able to start taking the trips that I've missed, and I'm ready to do that. I want to thank everybody here. I can tell you I've worked with a lot of these employees in all the different departments. I've enjoyed working with them. They're honest and truthful people. They never get enough praise, even like the parish president, and Mike's going to find that out. People who are his friend, within a month or 2 or 3, they're going to be complaining about what he's doing. It's the nature of the beast. When you look at politics, you have to make sure that you treat everybody fairly. Otherwise, they won't treat you fairly. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Jane. Mr. Stefancic.
I'd like to say a little bit about Gene. You know, Gene served on the parish, the planning commission before beginning to seek the parish council for District 14. And while he was on that commission, he probably ticked off so many people that he decided he was the perfect candidate for parish council District 14. He would be succeeding Barry Baggert, who had done a lot of the same. So he knew that everything was going to be up. He knew there was an uphill battle after that, and that Gene, when he came on, didn't realize that he had been left with a task that would consume his 12 years on the parish council. And that task was to correct all the problems with the Crossgates utilities. As he finishes his term, he's still trying to solve those problems. And Mike, the only thing I can tell you is good luck. Gene has been very active in his community all his life, so much that he's earned the title by most of the councilmen as the Energizer Bunny. It was on he served on the 9/11 board and has also served on the Safe Harbor board for battered women. And he worked on many boards, as he said, in his church, and recently worked on the land, the field ordinance and everything here. Gene's occupation is an accountant, and he was extremely good at numbers. And for those of you that look at our budget and understand it, I'm going to tell you, The one thing I know about Gene is he knows where every penny is going in our budget. He studies it down to that level, and he understands it very well. I, for one, Gene, am going to miss you a lot, and I hope that you enjoy all the time that you have with your grandkids.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Toledano?
Thank you very much, and I'll be very brief. And for people in the audience, I have the pleasure now of serving as the chairman of your Finance Committee. But for Gene Belizario's knowledge that he has imparted to me, I would have been a lost dog in the woods when I started. What I came to know very quickly as I got on this council, Gene, is very much what Steve said. Your depth of knowledge of that budget and how you manage and overlook and guard every dollar that we spend in this parish is most appreciated by me and should be most appreciated by the public. You've been a mentor to me. Certainly you've been a mentor to most of us as it relates to the finances, and I just want to thank you for your service.
You're welcome, my friend. It was enjoyable.
Mr. Canulet?
Thank you. Wow, it's hard to believe. 12 years. You know, I met Gene actually 21 years ago, but I really met him 20 years ago on the campaign trail against me. Rather interesting. Some fun stories. But let me tell you something about Gene. The day after the election 20 years ago, Gene called me, and he wanted to know what he could do for the parish. That's just the kind of guy he is. And ever since then, me and Gene have been working together for 20 years, collaborating, and no one has talked much about it, but the strides that he has made for the drainage on the east side is just incredible. And you can't do it by yourself. You gotta have the whole group involved. Everyone on the east side has to be involved because it affects everyone. But, you know, you will not meet a finer, sincere person than Gene, and I am gonna miss Gene tremendously. Have fun with the grandkids, and I know you won the arguments about the parish over the school board, right?
Yes. I would just talk her down and keep talking.
Thank you, Chris. Ms. Blanchett?
I've had the privilege of working with Gene, not only here, but in many of our overlapping community activities. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think that we come here and this is all that we do. Gene, as he says, on a number of boards and organizations. And I thank you for your service. Being elected, that's just a title. But Gene actually is a community steward. So thank you for all you've done, and I know we'll continue to do in a community that we both love.
Thank you, Michelle. What I'd like to talk to you about afterwards or tomorrow or whenever, we need to look at putting together our meetings on taxes to educate the public. And what we need with this crowd here, you all need to come to the meetings. Last year, we had a meeting scheduled on the eastern side of the parish. We were expecting 75 to 100 people. We got maybe 25. When we came here in these chambers, 0. You have to understand the budgeting process with St. Tammany Parish government, any government entities. This corporate accounting, I was in there for years. I knew that inside and out. It took me almost a year and a half to understand the budget because of the complexity and the laws that require certain things. That you just can't, as a citizen, say they're spending too much money. You don't know about how everything has to be done. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gene. Okay. Well, the next one, a lady that's very dear to my heart, Miss Blanchett. And once again, Michelle came onto the council a few months before Reichert and I, and got to know Michelle very well. I know how hard she worked, how hard she tried. But a lot of people don't realize one thing. When you're married, when you have kids, when you work, and when you're a councilman or council lady. There's not many people that can do that. And I'm looking out here at the audience, and I look at myself because I'm retired and I know how busy I stay. But no one gets credit for that. No one gets acknowledged that because no one knows that. Because it's only here we see it and we feel it. I was honored to be Michelle's vice chair when she was chair. We had a very good year. She really, really helped me. But once again, I got to see her passion, her desire for St. Tammany Parish. And it's really, really amazing. And I just want to say thank you for the time that you left your family, for the time that you gave from your business, and for the time that you provided to your district, but not only your district, but being chair and devoting it to the whole parish. So I'm not going to make you walk over here. I'm going to come over there.
Mr. Groby, I have you beat. I got a call sometime in the summer of 2015, and I was told that they would like to appoint me to this job. And I said, no. I'm going to run for state rep in 2019. And they said, well, we're not going to take no for an answer. And I said, well, no. And I went home, I told them, well, let me go home tonight and talk to my husband, and I'll pray about it. And I'll give you a call tomorrow. And I went home and I said, God would not open this window if there's not something, or this door, if there's not something he wants me to learn. So I went ahead and talked to Jake, and Jake and I, at 5 o'clock, called and said, I'll do this. I only intended to run and serve 4 years, one term, and I have no regrets. It has been my true pleasure to serve the residents of District 13. I have a list today of what I've accomplished in 4 years, and it's $23 million impact to that area. I thank the President's office. They've helped me on numerous projects and made a great difference in my district. I want to thank the Barnes staff for all that they have done to help. It is amazing when there's a problem, they just go out and they fix it, and they work hard. I want to thank the staff of the administration. They've never said no, even as today. They helped me get more information. And then the council staff. And no, these are not girls, these are ladies. And I appreciate each one of them. One of our greatest projects that I'm very proud of is Katrina and I have relentlessly sent emails to Department of Transportation. And through that, a road was paved that's been crumbling and disappearing. That's a major thoroughfare. And people don't understand that that's what you do to make a difference in your community. So I thank each and every one of you for what you've done. I want to thank my husband, and if you think that 2 elected officials arguing over something is interesting, try 2 lawyers. So the next 4 years is going to be fun as I get to watch Jake take over, but I know that he will do a fine job of serving the people of District 13 and the residents of St. Tammany Parish. Again, I know, just like Jean, we're not disappearing. We'll have lots of work to do because God always brings it to us. And I look forward to being of service to the people in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Stefanski.
Good, I'm going to told you I'm going to say, turn my mic on.
You want me to turn your mic off?
Turn it on.
Oh,
Okay, there it is. There it is. I just want to add a little bit to what Mike said and Michelle, because I met Michelle when she was the president of the East Chamber of Commerce. I don't go to very many grand openings and ribbon cuttings, but every one that I went to, she was there representing the chamber which was what she was supposed to do. Then I found out she was one of the leaders in the Leadership North Shore group. She was also on the board of several other groups in St. Tammany Parish. Then I found out she was a lawyer and married to one, and they had 2 kids. In 2011, we were looking for a possible charter changes, and we selected a group of people to serve on the Charter Change Commission. I recommended her, and she was appointed to the group. Then she was selected as chairman of the committee. I was one of the councilmen to be selected to that committee. Each meeting, she impressed me more and more with the facts, figures, and having everything ready for the group when we met. In 2015, Richie Artigue resigned his seat on the parish council to take a job as Slidell Airport manager. We needed to replace him, and we started looking for good candidates. Michelle's name came up in a discussion one day, and I thought, having seen her on the Charter Commission, she would be a good candidate for that. I talked to Richie about it. He agreed that she would be a good one. So I called her to talk to her about the position. This is where our stories change a little bit, because she told me she appreciated the vote of confidence, but she wasn't interested because she was going to wait 4 years and seek a state representative seat. I told her I told her that this would be a good background for her district in the parish. She still said no. I told her I don't take no for an answer. That part we finally agreed to. And that as short as the time was, because we had to make a decision within a day or two, I told her, you've got until tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock to call me back and tell me yes. And I waited all day for my phone to ring. At 5 minutes to 5, the phone finally rang and she said, okay, I'll do it. I submitted her name to the council for consideration, and she was selected by the council. Part of her district's been in my old district, so it actually overlapped my old district. So I had the opportunity to work with her on problems in the area. She quickly picked up the needs of the district for the next several years, took care of all the problems that her constituents encountered. Michelle and Jake have 2 kids. Like most kids, they're active in sports, and they're constantly driving back and forth to camps, to their sports, and for games. Now, her daughter, Belle, is a little different. She decided she wanted to play football and be the kicker for the football team, for the junior high team, and now the freshman team. She turned out for the team and won the position. And I'll tell you, that's hard to do in Slidell, just so you know the biases that are there. But they won't be anymore because her mom was a lawyer, and I understand that. Michelle drives her around to all kinds of soccer camps as well as training camps to help improve her football kicking. Belle now regularly hits 40-yard field goals and wants to be the first female kicker for LSU. If Belle is anything like her mother, I'm sure that she's going to achieve that goal. Michelle served as vice chairman and chairman during her short tenure on the council and worked with both the council and the administration for the better of this government. Michelle, working with you has been a great pleasure for me. I know that your constituents will miss you as well, even though Jake will be taking your place. You know that I consider you as my best friend that I have on the council, and I hope that you feel the same about me. I wish you luck in the future, and if I can ever be of any help to you in any way, all you have to do is ask. Thank you.
thank you, Steve. Okay. Well, now we go to a gentleman that I had the privilege to meet and never once thought I'd be sitting here tonight. and him sitting over there. I got to meet Red about 8 years ago when I was appointed to the Causeway Commission, and this gentleman walks in with his old work clothes on and sits down at the commission meetings and says very little, as he still does, says very little here. But I met Red Thompson there, and Lord and behold, now I'm sitting here looking at Red Thompson. And I'm glad I'm still looking at you and you're still looking at me. That's a positive right there. I agree. So Red has been on this council for 42 years. You know, and the naysayers will say, 42 years, where's term limits? Well, you know where term limits is at most of the time? In the ballot box. Other people don't vote for Red Thompson, didn't vote for Red Thompson. The people in his district voted for Red Thompson. And everybody had an opportunity to get in the race. So that just goes to show you that Mr. Thompson did one hell of a job. As I said, Red speaks very seldom, very quiet. But I learned a lot from my friend down there. And most of it, he said, keep your mouth shut, but I don't follow that too often. So Red, there's a litany of things that are going to come here in a minute. But personally, I just want to say thank you from me to you because you helped me. I can only imagine what you have done for 42 years. For the people in your district in St. Tammany Parish. So for me, my friend, congratulations. I know you're going to be retiring from work and council stuff, so the deers better watch out. We're going to lose a lot of deers in St. Tammany Parish. But congratulations, buddy, and I wish you all the best. And I'm going to go to Mr. Stefancic now.
I'm back again. I'll get the last word on Red, or some of the last words on Red to begin with. Tonight is the last meeting for the longest serving police juror parish councilman in the history of St. Tammany Parish. James Red Thompson was selected as a police juror on July 1st, 1978, and will complete 41 years, 5 months, and 13 days when he leaves office on January the 13th. Tonight we'll be providing recognition to Red and a long tradition of the Thompson family in service to St. Tammany Parish. His grandfather served as a police juror from 1948 to 1964. His father was a councilman for Covington under previous Mayor Cooper, and then went on to be elected to the police jury in 1964 and served until his death in 1978, and Red was appointed to replace his father. In doing some research on the Thompson name, we found a judge named James Thompson. This is James Thompson. Judge James Thompson. When I asked people tonight if they knew who it was interesting. The only one that did was Red. And he said, I don't know whether our family or not, but I know that's who it is. This guy was born in Covington in 1842. In 1872, he was selected a state senator and was elected as a judge and served 26 years before his death in 1903. When he died, which is where I think the Thompson name gets a lot of credit in this parish. When he died in 1903, they shut down all the government buildings. They shut down the courthouse, and they shut down all the schools in St. Tammany Parish in recognition of Judge Thompson. The article noting him said one thing, and I think it relates to Red as well. His word was his bond, and those who disagreed with him always respected him for that. I met Red when he was elected when I was elected in 1987, to beginning my first term in 1978. He was a lot younger then, and always quiet. It was hard to learn anything from him because he never said anything at the meetings, and that hasn't changed as of today. I've always tried to learn from successful people, and soon learned that what he did was take care of his constituents in his district and their concerns. He would meet with barn foremen nearly every day to bring up issues that needed to be worked. He could usually get things done before anyone else knew it was a problem or became a concern. Red has seen the problems in St. Tammany with such things as the failure of the road tax in the early 80s and in the budget problems in the early 90s. Our meetings began at noon back then in the police jury and would run until evening, maybe midnight, maybe night, and if we went past midnight, we would come back the next day and start the meeting again at noon. So, as many of you know, we held meetings on the second floor of the Southern Hotel, and on the first floor was Toogie's Bar. Many of the police jurors would leave the meeting and go down to Toogie's for a beer or two, and then return to the meeting. Sometimes we had to send somebody down to get them so that we had a quorum to vote on things. Red has seen the western side of the parish go from a rural backwoods area with gravel or dirt roads to an area where it seems that everyone wants to live. He has seen the west side of St. Tammany quadruple in population over the years, causing many problems in infrastructure and quality of life. He still is addressing those things today. Red worked in the background to help solve the many problems of the parish and his district, although he never spoke much at our council meetings. He maintained a very close connection and friendship with all the council members. With the voter approval and reapproval of the 2-cent sales tax, he has seen the roads of St. Tammany go from gravel and dirt to asphalt. He has seen major improvements in drainage during his tenure. This has included continued upgrades to our requirements and to help improve the quality of life. Red was always able to work with representatives of the east side of the parish, and even when there was a discussion of splitting the parish into 2 new parishes. Some of you probably are not aware that that ever happened, but there certainly was there, and Red was one of the people that said, no, we can always work together. I could always talk to Red about problems that we faced as a jury or a council. We shared ideas, and what I liked him about is that he would tell you exactly how he felt on any issue, and we were always able to work out a compromise. More than that, if he gave you his word, he kept it, and you could take it to the bank. We didn't always agree on everything, but we always reached an agreement on any issue. I enjoyed working with Red over the years, and we became very good friends. I, for one, am going to miss him tremendously. I tried talking him into staying and seeking re-election this time, but to no avail. I know his hunting camp will be a lot busier in the future, and he will continue to farm as he's done for several years. So I can understand his wanting to retire. Through the years, he enjoyed victories and suffered defeats. He has aged a lot in giving service to St. Tammany and making St. Tammany a better place to live. I'm going to ask his daughter Erica to come up here. And Mr. Hand, when selecting an award for his service in St. Tammany Parish, I know we've got a couple other awards to give him, but we wanted to select something that reflects his parish, his service to the parish. He's been tattered. He's had a lot of success, but most of all, he's been kept going and set an example for the rest of us to follow. Red, you're like this old flag. You're like this old flag that's been battered, beaten, and shredded, and you're still going strong. I hope that you will put this recognition in a place of honor, whether it's in your home, your barn, or your hunting camp, to always remind you of what and how much we think of you. And with that being said, I say goodbye, my old friend. I feel honored to have been working with you for the past 32 years. Thank you for everything you did for St. Tammany. May God smile down, excuse me, may God smile down on you and reward you for all the things that you've done for us. And I hope he provides a lot of extra deer at your hunting camp.
Okay, y'all know I don't really talk a whole bunch, but I'm going to keep it kind of short. I'll probably be like Pat. I'm going to break down here. But when I first took office, some of your facts were wrong.
I got him from you.
No, you didn't. Yeah, but you're getting old. You wrote them down.
Yeah, sure.
My grandpa got elected in 1948 to the police jury. He retired in 72. My daddy was on the Covington City Council in 64 to 72, with Mike Cooper's daddy as the mayor of Covington. When my grandpa retired, my daddy took his place. He passed away in 78 of a heart attack. I was appointed July 1st of 78, and I've been here ever since. So I've always, like Mr. Sponzik said, if I tell you something, you can take it to the bank. But my main objective as a parish councilman and police juror, I've been a police juror 2 times, a parish councilman 2 times, was public works. I worked closely in the field with the crews. I met with them, I rode with them. People called me about a ditch or whatever, I went and seen them. I've represented a lot of the western end of the parish, the whole city of Covington at one time, Goodby, Folsom, all through that area. I've enjoyed it. I've met a lot of people. I've had a good time. I can even say I had fun. But, you know, these jobs y'all have in them seats up there, nobody knows what it takes until y'all sit in one of them. And it's a full-time job. It's not part-time. Y'all know that as well as I do. I always like to say, this is my daughter, Erica. You see that pretty red hair? When I was 26, I had that pretty red hair, too. It's gray now, I don't have much left. I don't know if politics did that to me or not.
Probably.
But look, I appreciate y'all. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be around. Just a short story. When I first got on the police jury, that's a long time ago, 2 of my mentors were Herman Sharp and O'Geese Richardson. And a lot of them, some of them y'all don't know them, I'm sure. They're gone now. And another fellow by the name of Shannon Davis. I was on the police jury with him. He ran for parish president in 1979, and I supported him. And that might be why we got beat, but we got beat. So I've worked with Shannon a long, long time. He's been a good friend, a good ally, and does a great job for the parish, I can tell you. Other than that, thank all y'all. I'll be around. Call me. I always tell people that if you need me, call me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, get one.
They got a couple of parish leadermen and foremen here. I'd like to get a picture with them if y'all don't mind. Mr. Crockett, Gray.
You go right ahead.
Come on, Fred. These are the fellas that keep y'all in office in the field. They've kept me in office. Like you say, I don't say much up here, but when I call these fellas and I say that need some gravel on this road or this ditch needs cleaning, in a day or two it's done.
Yep.
Just a little information. That's one way you can stay in office.
Well, Red, I think that's the most I've heard you speak in my 4 years.
Mike, for me, it's 12 years.
But Red, don't sit down. Come on over here for a minute. My pleasure as chairman, 42 years. My friend, congratulations. Love you too, brother. Mr. Dean.
Okay, is it on? Yeah.
That's you.
All right. I'm not even going to think about trying to top Mr. Stefansik's talk. That was a real good one. But so I just wrote a couple of little notes. 42 years ago, that's 1978. I mean, Journey was singing. I mean, just think about 1978. That's a long time. That means he went through 4 censuses, all right? So 8, which means, and it's the significance of that, is that every time you have a census, then you have redistricting. And that means he either loses votes or loses constituents or gains constituents. This past, after 2010, it changed, and so did his world, because he took about half of my district that was really, and as you know, very, 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 very busy. It was all 3 corners, the northern and the western corners of 1077 and 1085. It was all up in Goodby. I used to have all of Goodby, so it all changed. But he got that district, and not only that, won another election ever since, even after that. He's an embodiment of what it means to be a council member. He's when I think about just words that I want to describe him with, number one is loyal. That's already been alluded to, that he's very loyal. His word is his bond. Whatever he says or whatever, you can very well bet that it's true. That it's true, and that if it's something that he promises he's going to do, he'll do it. Loyal, knowledgeable. He knows more about this parish and more about parish roads and ditches and every square inch of at least this side of the parish. Knowledgeable, determined. I think anybody who knows him knows that there's not a whole heck of a lot you can talk him into if he's not wanting to do it. True friend, and I really mean that. True friend, and he was a mentor to me as well. I will miss his friendship. I'll miss his leadership. He's authoritative. And notice I didn't say powerful, because powerful sometimes kind of sounds got a negative connotation to it. But he's authoritative, meaning I bet you he could pick up the phone right now and call John Kennedy, call Steve Scalise. They would pick it up just like that. He gets authority through humility and service. And that's the good part. I mean, he's Red Thompson's not one of those guys that you're going to hear anything bad about. Red does his job. The voters like that. And with that, comes authority. So I really appreciate what he has done. You notice the people that he thanked were the people that did a lot of work for him. So anyway, I am gonna miss you. It's gonna be real different. So anyway, I am pleased to give you this other gift. No, I can't take credit for that. So anyway. Thank you.
Don't drop it.
No, I'm not going to drop it. To move Lawrence down. So I was unanimously selected by the ladies to give you this gift because they said, you're probably the only one crazy enough to give it to him. And I said, I believe I'm your man. So you might as well come on up here real quick while we talk about you. So never would I have dreamed that I would be the second in tenure at this council when this started 20 years ago for me. I saw Pat earlier. Me and Pat started together. You know, I'm going to miss her. We had a lot of good fun. We had some arguments, but we always were friends. But Thompson, first thing Thompson told me when I met him, he says, you know what happens in my district? I said, no, what? He says, what I say. Then you know what he told me? Do you understand? Because I was confused. And then I got that busted out laugh like he's doing right now. But in a nutshell, everyone said it. You are the best that the best can give. Your family is the salt of the earth. I mean, can't say enough positive things about you. Just like y'all are to the west, my family is to the east. Mm-hmm. And we cannot thank you enough. And you are always going to be my dear friend, my mentor. I'm going to miss you a lot. It's much more than you ever will know. I know. So, since we've been talking about you all night, this is your gift from somebody on this council. I'm not quite sure who it is, but it's a special Bible doll.
It's probably you.
No, I can't take credit for this one. And it says, go hunting Thompson. So
There you go. I will do
you don't
that.
know who gave it to you? I don't know. You got to figure that one out.
Thank you.
Can you go with the box? Yeah. Get that there.
Thank you, Chris. Madam President?
I can't even imagine this council meeting without Red Thompson. I had the pleasure of sitting next to him for 8 years, right up on that council dais. And while everybody here says he doesn't talk a lot, yes, he does. He just talks under his breath to whomever's sitting next to him. You don't hear him a lot. But how thankful we are, Red, for you, all you've done, but not just you, your entire family. Imagine what this parish would look like without the Thompson family and all they've done for all of us. Thank you, and I wish you the very happiest retirement ever. And play with that grandbaby. They're wonderful. Thank you.
Mr. Toledano?
Thank you very much. I have to say first that my relationship with Red goes back a long way also, but I have to also say that I never thought I would be here this day sitting up here next to this gentleman and see him leave office. First, I consider myself fortunate to be here in the first instance, and I really thought he would be here forever, but ever is not any more than 42 years, I'm told. It's very difficult, I think, to any time say goodbye to a legacy, and really not so much as goodbye, but as to salute what I consider to be a legacy, much well as someone who is my peer. Red Thompson, to me, means much more than what comes out of this meeting, because I've known Red Thompson in the community. But you begin to look around and see what represents Red Thompson, what really defines him. So I took a moment to, I'm so very computer literate that I can look up stuff now. My office has taught me that. And I look for the definition of true leadership. Here's one of the definitions I read, and so help me God, but for having Red Thompson's name in it, it is Red Thompson. True leaders act with integrity, and in doing so, they establish trust. That's Red Thompson. sort of an emotional person myself, so I apologize. True leaders genuinely value their people, and in doing so, they create loyalty. Those guys that he spoke about, who are also good friends and participants in my district, could not find a more loyal group. And they're loyal to him, and he is loyal to them. What a great character that is. True leaders are in the business of assisting people. They realize their full potential. In doing so, they inspire excellence. And that is the epitome of Red Thompson. His mission in life, in everywhere, is to help people. My relationship with Red spans over 35 years. We used to play basketball with and against each other in some of our gyms here in Covington. For 18 years, we were in the same hunting club. It's interesting to note that in the 18 years we were in the hunting club, he wore the same damn shirt virtually every day. We would occasionally share a beer, or perhaps 2 beers, or perhaps some unnumbered amount of beer. We knew a lot of people that were mutual friends of ours. We participated in politics. He teaches me and all of us something about politics every day. We walked in the woods together, and by that I don't mean we held hands together in the woods, but at our deer club, he was a scouter. He would go scout in the afternoon, and I was probably one of the only ones who could keep up with him. So I'd walk through the woods, and I would get to hear some of his wisdom that he would share. So when I decided to run, as well as after I was elected, among other people that I have the utmost respect, I sought out Red Thompson. I asked him for his advice. I asked him what his thoughts were, first in terms of whether I was out of my mind to have run. He encouraged me to do so, and I appreciate that. But his wisdom is deeply rooted, and I believe that to be the case. And often, in my view, the wisest people are those who listen first and not assume they know it all. And that is also the epitome of Red Thompson. I have sat here next to him, as some of us, the brothers on this side, have done. And what he will tell us, in part in his judgment and his decision-making, that doesn't get publicized over the microphone and is not as loud as most of us are, is probably the smartest thing that might be said during the night. Steve Stefanczyk said, his word is his bond. There's not one person who has been in contact with Red Thompson does not know, that his word is his bond. His advice to me was the similar advice that he gave to somebody else. And I remember it well. When you make a commitment to someone, his word was, you stick by it. He was standing right there when he told me one time in a controversial issue that, those, again, the people in the audience are participants in the government in a different way. When we're up here, we're pulled sometimes by many different people in many different ways. And in all fairness, we come sometimes to these meetings, we hear an argument, we come, if we've done our homework and we have an idea, and then you hear arguments and you say, or you hear comments from our fellow members of this council, and you say, well, that point, maybe I might change my position. Well, Red Thompson makes it clear that if your position was given to certainly one of your brothers and sisters up here or to any member of the audience, you stick by it. And that's a lesson that serves us all well. For me personally, as well as I'm sure everybody in this community of councilmen, it's been an honor to serve with Red Thompson. St. Tammany Parish has benefited in so many words and so many ways, that cannot be measured because of his service to this community. I think with a lot of people, feel like we love Red Thompson like a brother. I wish him well, but I wish to hell he wasn't leaving. Thank you very much.
Ms. Blanchard.
Mr. Thompson, I've asked you numerous times to educate Mr. Toledano. but clearly it's just not worked. So, in true honor of you, I shall keep my remarks short. You are a man of integrity, and we've all said it, your word is your bond, and you are a true gentleman. And it has been my pleasure to serve with you the last 4 years, and I thank you for all that you've done for St. Tammany Parish. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Ms. O'Brien.
Well, Red, so much of what I wanted to say was already said, and I'm going to be short because I don't want to get emotional. But it has been an honor to serve with you. You've been a colleague, a mentor, and such a dear friend. Outside of work, things are going to be the same. I know I'm going to see you around. But here it's just not going to be the same without you. We're going to miss you. I'm going to miss you. I really love you dearly, my sweet friend. And I just congratulate you on your next step in life. And I just absolutely wish you all the best and all the blessings in the world.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
As presently the junior member here, Red and I graduated high school together, and I'm sure that we've got family there in the Bolson Lee Road area. We're probably cousins, Red.
You can claim it.
Yeah, well, it would certainly benefit me from everything I've seen. I can tell you that. And when I came on board, Red told me it's kind of a ratio, and it's kind of an inverse ratio, I don't know if that was your exact words, Red, but he said, kind of the less you speak here and the more you speak to your constituents, everything will take care of itself. And he has been the epitome of that. I've studied him for 2 years. I've tried to get every bit of knowledge I can out of him sitting here. And he was not much different than you were in high school, Red. You were quiet. You were hard as a nail on the football team and just did your job and went and played college ball and just solid. And it's been an honor serving here with you for these couple of years, and I'm certainly going to miss you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Okay. Well,
It's meeting time.
first of all, there's a reason why I save the best for last. 2 reasons. One is because it's the best, and the other one is I'm still waiting for her FedEx gift to arrive. But I don't control FedEx, Madam President. So I'm going to move forward now. About 8 years ago, I had the opportunity to meet Pat Brister, and she was on the parish council representing my district, representing me in my district, and had the opportunity to meet her at a few political functions because my previous job threw me in that arena. And I really developed a very good relationship with her and her late husband, Joe. And then, all of a sudden, I was asked to run for the council, and I decided to run. And I talked to Pat, and I ran. And as I said, I've only been here 4 years. So for a couple of years, I just sat down and watched, kept my mouth shut, and watched and learned. But I watched the lady there give her all to St. Tammany Parish. And when I mean give her all, it's give her all. I didn't say give it all right or wrong, but I said give it all. And that's what counts. That's what everybody in this audience does. and I think everybody in this audience would agree with me, that you give it your all at your job, but you're not always right. But you learn to move on. So I watched that, and I learned. And then when I came in as Michelle Blanchard's vice chair, I got to see a little bit more of my friend Pat. And I really noticed how much she worked then. I had a good idea, but I was really wrong. She's still giving it all. And her all may be right, and her all may be wrong, but it's her all. And then finally, when I came and sat in this chair, it requires a little more time. It requires a part-time job, full-time job, but I love doing it because I love helping the people in District 4. But I got to work with Pat a lot closer. I got to work with her every day. I still watched her give her all. Right and wrong, but all. And then I really realized how much St. Tammany Parish meant to Pat Brister. Many of people in this audience have family members that they have lost. I have a couple, very close. But during that time, Pat had Mr. Joe, as I called him, because he was a gentleman and a scholar. Pat had an issue, and Mr. Joe needed care. And the bottom line was Pat Brister never missed a beat in St. Tammany Parish. Not a friggin' beat. I watched her come into meetings with me, and she's one of the prettiest ladies. And I watched her come in, and she was tired. She was tired. She was worn out. And she was worn out taking care of her husband. But she was also worn out for taking care of people in St. Tammany Parish. And I gave a little bit extra because I knew that. So, one thing I do know, she loves St. Tammany Parish. She did everything she could for St. Tammany Parish, and no matter what, St. Tammany Parish is one of the best communities as around the state because we have so many people coming here and moving here. And that's under her leadership. I'm going to give Mr. Kevin Davis also. And I'm also going to look at the back of the room and give Mr. Mike Cooper that because I know he's going to do a fine job. But that's what St. Tammany is about. It's about giving. And I just want to say, and Mr. Stefansik's going to say a few things, and then I'll close on my friend. But I want to say thank you, Pat. I love you. The people in St. Tammany love you also.
Thank you.
And they benefit every day. So thank you very much, and I'm going to go to Mr. Stefanski.
Oh, it's up to me? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Brister, I just want to say a few words. I know when you came on board and for District 4, one of the things that impressed me the most was your knowledge and understanding of what needed to be done in St. Tammany Parish. And you impressed me a lot. Now, and I'm not too easily impressed, but I'm going to tell the people out here tonight, if she hasn't still got it in her room in there, she has a picture with her and George Bush, the younger George Bush. And he's walking along and he's carrying these set of bags and Pat's walking next to him. The picture is signed by George Bush and says, "Pat, I will carry your luggage anytime." And I thought, And that impressed the hell out of me. I don't know about anybody else, but I've never had a president of the United States tell me that, and I doubt that anybody in this room has. But anyhow, I just wanted to say she went on under the Bush administration to be appointed to the Federal Reserve Board in Texas, and she was an ambassador to the United States for women's rights and traveled all over the world representing women's, to help work on women's rights throughout the world, and I think made a great dent in that part for the United States. She ran for president and was elected to her first term, and to me, she understood the quality of life issues as well as the needs from president of the parish, from infrastructure problems to purchasing the mental health facility at Fontainebleau Park, where when the state was going to shut it down, by the way, and she found a way to come up with the money and purchase that. She's established a safe harbor facility for battered women, and she has a company that comes in now and works with the mentally ill people of this parish, and it's a greatly needed issue in this parish. Some of the things you probably don't know is that Pat, and I'm not going to all her accomplishments, you'd never get them all listed here, but I want to tell you, she organized a group of over 20 parish council presidents to address problems of flooding and drainage and things like that in the southern part of Louisiana, and she chaired that for the first few years to make sure that it got a solid foot and got going. She's the one that helped establish the levy and levy board for St. Tammany Parish, and she worked with our senators and congressmen to obtain money for the widening of I-12, and she did that for several years. And once the accident happened on I-12 down here at the overpass, she immediately went to Washington and talked with our senators and congressmen to get funding to improve that section. And primarily the end result was, and John Kennedy, I think, carried the ball for us, but Pat was there, and they ended up getting, I think, $35 million to improve that structure of the road where the 4 people had gotten killed. So, and she did it just like it's one of the things we do all the time. She served on our RPC, and I've been on there 30 years, and she served the last several years that she was parish president. And for those of you that don't know, that's where we get the money for most of the infrastructure improvements in St. Tammany Parish. And she's managed to help us get an awful lot for St. Tammany. Pat, I know you and I have not always agreed on everything. We've had some pretty tough times sitting there talking to each other and hammering stuff out. But we always manage to discuss our differences and come to an agreement on an acceptable solution on any issue that we had. I really enjoyed being a part of your tenure here at the parish, and really working with your staff, which you allowed us a lot of access to have. And I do appreciate that. I've always considered you a friend of mine, and I hope you'll feel the same about me. To me, St. Tammany is losing one of our greatest champions. I wish you luck in the future in any endeavor you go to. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Steve. Madam President, would you come up here for a minute, please? Yeah, come on up here.
You've been up here before.
Before I give you the flowers, I'm going to give you what should have arrived. I don't control FedEx, but it's coming. It's a beautiful gift, and it's come from the council, and everybody loves you, so you're going to have to hold on to that for a little while. And
it's a beautiful crystal.
And they're yours. I want to wish you the best of luck, and I'll give you a chance to talk to everybody.
Thank you. Thank I will talk. I don't think I even need a microphone. I've been blessed. I have been able to do so many things in my life that a little girl from LaGrange, Georgia would never have dreamed. But this, being a part of this group, has been one of the highlights. We've done some really good things in St. Tammany Parish because we've worked together many times to get the right things done. And I look around at people that are here now and the people that have been here in the past, and I could not be more proud to have served with them. I don't know how to say thank you to all of you, and Mike, you and Peggy are just dear friends, and thank you very much for everything you do for me. My husband was my biggest supporter, and he was always my best cheerleader. And he watched every one of these meetings that went on for hours at home. Never came here once, I don't believe. So I thank him too for all he gave me and all he made possible for me. I can't name everyone that I want to thank, but just know my heart is so full tonight. There's a new part of my life that's coming. I know I will enjoy it, but nothing could mean more to me than the people I've worked with here. Thank you. Thank you all. I'll take this.
I'll carry it.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Ms. Blanchard.
Yes. Mr. Stefanczyk covered a number of things, but there's a few more I'd like to. Many people do not know that Pat actually started her service as a PTA president a long, long time ago, and I've always admired that about her. I regret that the average person will not know the great work that you have done to protect this parish, nor will they know the plans that you have developed to address needs now and in the future of this parish. I've always admired the grace in which you have conducted yourself, and when you've been faced with challenges, you've never gave up, and you've always said, we will come up with a plan. I thank you for your service to the people in the parish. I'm blessed to have had the opportunity to work with you. And I thank you for your dedication to one of the hardest jobs that anyone will ever do in this day and age. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hold on for me, Kelly. Try it now, sweetheart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm honored and privileged to be able to provide brief remarks on behalf of the directors to Pat, and I thank you for the indulgence and the time. When Pat began her administration 8 years ago, she implemented a philosophy built around 4 tenets: customer service, cooperation, transparency, and accountability. As directors, we knew we were to use those 4 tenets as our guide each and every day. As a boss, you have empowered us to gain our skills, to be challenged, and to be free to provide our ideas as to how to best serve the citizens of this great parish. The only direction that you ever gave us was, if you don't hear from me, that's a good thing. Follow the rules and go do your job. Rest assured, you have many, many legacies, and that you have left your mark. But in no greater way than in deciding to develop Safe Haven, which will save lives. Deciding to proceed with that project took courage, leadership, and vision. And that is how your presidency will be remembered.
Thank you.
And I have a present to open. I'll do that while you talk.
Yes, ma'am, you go right ahead. Very last thing I want to say is, and we finish, and I really appreciate everyone's patience, and it's just something that we have to express because we've been working so close together over a number of years with all these fine individuals. And but the one thing I do want to say is, as I mentioned earlier, change comes. And when change comes, I was in that position. I made changes in my previous job when I took over. And so there'll be some employees that'll leave. There'll be some employees that'll stay. But I just want to say one thing on behalf of this council. For the employees that leave, thank you. For the employees that stay, thank you. And you can help. You have the knowledge, and whoever stays, give it your all like you did before, and this parish will move forward just like it has. So I didn't want to leave the employees out, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of the council for everyone that has worked for St. Tammany Parish. And now we'll get on with council business. Thank you. Okay. We'll go to the ordinances to be pulled, items to be pulled. The ordinance for introduction, number 3, ordinance calendar number 6288. Number 7, ordinance calendar 6292. Number 18, ordinance calendar 6303. Resolutions to be pulled, number 4, C-6197. Number 6, C-6199. Number 7, C-6200. That's the ones that I have that we have pulled for right now. Mr. Dean, do you have anything, sir? Mr. Fitzgerald? Mr. Thompson? Mr. Toledano? Mr. Balacero?
None.
Mr. Groby? No. Mr. Canulet? Ms. O'Brien? Mr. Stefancic? Ms. Blanchard? Mr. Smith? Thank you. Any from the administration that you want to have, Ms. Long, or anybody wants anything pulled? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anything from legal that they would like to have pulled? Okay. Just hold on for me 1 second. Oh, yeah, I will. Okay. Having nothing else, I'll need a motion. All other. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Shane.
If I could, Chairman Lorino.
You have.
Resolution 4 I know is pulled. I wanted to make sure that we had discussion concerning River Cross parking.
Resolution number 4. Well, yeah, we have that one pulled.
Yes, I just want to make sure that
Yeah, we have it. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay. The consent, any item not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved in whole by one vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. A majority vote of the entire council aid is required to adopt the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Balacero, second by Mr. Canulet. Please vote. Well, hit it for me.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Okay, we had a request for ordinance calendar number 6284 to be pulled, and I have it. What I'd like to do is move it up to the top. That's the Medline issue, and hearing no objection, I'll move that right on up right now so we can get it done. Okay.
So moved.
Thank you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to be clear on the process again. Everyone will be afforded 3 minutes, both sides 3 minutes. This is a little bit different than the appeal side, and it's also different than what you had at planning and zoning. So when someone comes up, please just state your name. We'll start the clock. The clock will go off, and then I'm going to ask you to go ahead, and that would be it, because if we continue, it would continue. I understand everybody wants to speak on it. I respect that. And what we have done is we're trying to get the top, speaking with Ms. Wagner, to get some people in the very beginning so that we can have that information put on the record, and then we'll go down the list. So what I'm thinking about doing is, for the fact that we only have a few for the ordinance to be voted on and adopted, I will go ahead and start at that area, and then we'll go to the other side and do that. That way we can go straight through rather than going back and forth.
It's against.
Okay, thank you. Okay? Okay. The first one I have, and you ready, Jim?
Yes.
Okay, so after they state their name, you can hit the button.
Right.
I don't want the name to go on the time.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Give him a few
All
extra
right,
seconds.
the next, first one I have is Mr. Paul Maroon, please. I'm sorry, there's one other thing, Paul, before you get started. I just want to make sure everybody understands again, this is not a question and answer back and forth like the appeal. It's a statement to the council, and the council will listen and then do what we need to do and take everything under consideration. If a councilman has a question, they will ask. I think it's been pretty well disseminated, but there may be some new information that we haven't heard, and that's fine. So anyway, Mr. Maroon, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Paul Maroon. First, with regard to the meeting tonight, this is not an appeal, as Mr. Lorino just noted. The merits of this request and this zoning case were heard and decided at the appeal hearing that took place in November. The only question that is before the council tonight is whether or not to adopt the ordinance that was introduced to formally change the zoning of this tract. And I would respectfully submit to you that given the facts that you heard last month, and the action that this council took based on those facts, there is no reason or basis not to adopt the ordinance that is before you this evening. To adopt that ordinance would be a down zone of this property. You would be down zoning this property from the vastly more intense uses that would be permitted under the existing PBC2 zoning. That PBC2 zoning, as we discussed and as you heard last month, would allow over 6 million square feet of use on that site and 4 to 5 times more traffic than would be generated from this project that is before you now. This site abuts Interstate 12 and does not abut residential property. It does not abut any residential property. The closest resident to this site or to this project is 1/4 of a mile away, 1/4 mile away. I would submit to you that this project is further away from residences and residential zoning than almost all other industrial sites that are currently located in St. Tammany Parish. I would also submit to you that the AML zoning criteria are met by this site. As I said, this site abuts and is along Interstate 12. It is between Highway 21 and Highway 1077, two of the primary north-south corridors in western St. Tammany Parish. Your staff has recommended approval of this request. Your zoning commission voted 5 to 3. 5 out of the 8 zoning commissioners voted in favor of this request. After a multi-hour hearing last month, this council, you voted 12 to 0 in favor of this project. I respectfully submit to you that this is a good project, and that this project, if approved, is in the best interest of St. Tammany Parish, of all of St. Tammany Parish, because of what it brings to this parish. I would respectfully submit to you that your approval this evening is well warranted by the facts that you've heard. And I respectfully suggest that this ordinance should be adopted this evening as it is before you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Morone. Ms. Bonnie Eads.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Eads. I'm the Executive Director of the North Shore Business Council. I'm here on behalf of the North Shore Business Council's board and its members, which consist of over 65 CEOs of business entities who are devoted to the improvement of business and economic conditions within the North Shore region. Our region consists of 3 parishes, St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, and Washington. We're here this evening to provide our support of the rezoning request for the Medline Industries project now before this council. As business leaders, we have an interest in promoting a better business environment. We promote policies that enhance both the quality of life and improvements in all infrastructures necessary to support a healthy, growing, and diverse environment. The NBC believes that bringing the expansion of the largest privately held manufacturer and distributor of medical supplies in the U.S. here to St. Tammany Parish will have a substantial positive impact on the North Shore. The project's creation of more than 200 well-paying jobs worth $6 million in new payroll for our community, together with the sales taxes generated both during construction and at the project's end, will provide St. Tammany with substantial revenue to build upon our much-needed infrastructure improvements. The revenue impact to our schools, libraries, parks, fire districts, and other quality of life enhancements that make St. Tammany Parish so desirable today will expand greatly with these increased revenues. We believe that the Medline Industries' chosen location, strategically selected for their business purposes, can and will support responsible economic growth to St. Tammany Parish. In fact, the healthcare industry is the leading economic engine in St. Tammany. This expanded distribution facility will improve efficiency through enhanced supply delivery and inventory management processes for these healthcare facilities. This will certainly help ensure that our hospitals, our nursing homes, assisted living centers, our dialysis centers, and all the other healthcare entities here will have supplies available during supply disruptions such as natural disasters or other such potential events. The NBC appreciates the positive impact this project will have on the economy and our quality of life here on the North Shore. These are the same qualities that Medline also appreciates, which is why they have selected to grow here in St. Tammany's. Let us not ask them to leave by denying this rezoning application. Finally, the NBC would like to thank the council for taking the time to closely consider this matter and ask for your support once again of the rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eads. Appreciate it, ma'am. Mr. Alan Smith. Mr. Smith?
You want to speak about this, because mine was 6271 is what I put on my form.
Okay. Yes, I think she probably gave me the wrong one.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. We'll get to you very shortly. Mr. Chris Massengill. Always get me in trouble.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam President. My name is Chris Massengill, Chief Executive Officer of the Economic Development Organization, the St. Tammany Corporation. I'd like to begin by thanking you again for your diligence, your commitment in studying this project, looking at all sides of it, understanding the full impacts and ramifications to our community. We certainly respect the fact that it is difficult in making such an important decision and recognizing
each of the separate sides and the considerations and separating the facts versus the fiction and the implications that it has on our community. Your dedication to this process and respecting this process is greatly appreciated. We strongly believe that you made the best decision in this zoning request, and as the Chief Economic Development Advisor, we stand behind that decision and stand behind this ordinance tonight. As emphasized in our independent third-party economic analysis, this project bears 5-to-1 return to our community. That for every dollar that we spend, this community and this economy receives $5 in return. Medline is truly a global recognized company, a good corporate citizen, and has been nationally recognized as a stellar employer that goes above and beyond its employees. For 15 years, as a reminder, Medline has been investing those same qualities and actions into this community, and we want them to continue by giving our people good jobs above the average wage and benefits and expanding that investment in the future. The reality is that projects of this magnitude help us to maintain the quality of life that we fiercely protect in this parish. Companies like Medline provide the kinds of jobs that allowed our children and grandchildren to continue to remain here. And projects like this one create generational opportunities. In closing, Council and Mr. Chairman, we would like to strongly and respectfully urge you a positive adoption of this ordinance tonight on behalf of economic development. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you. We'll go to the other side now. Mr. Gus Lehman. Mr. Gus?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman Lorena. My name's Gus Lehman.
Yes, sir.
Resident of St. Tammany Parish last 35 years. I'm here today to speak about common sense, safety over profits. My world changed on May 26, 2018, as my wife was killed on Interstate 12 at Highway 21 in Covington. And it was due to a dangerous highway condition. I think everyone here will testify that we have a nightmare problem on Interstate 12. Every family, every child that goes to school, everyone that goes to work, that is a regular used corridor by locals. The first public official I spoke to after the accident was you, Chairman Lorino. You were so kind of directed me. I needed information. I was lost. You directed me on how to get public information. We shared life stories and whatever, and you were very kind. And you agreed that it was a problem area. You directed me, and that led me to Ms. Pat Brister, parish president, and she was so gracious and so helpful. And she says, we're fighting it. We've been fighting this for a long time. And she went to bat to get funding, and it's actually $52 million plus an additional $25 million, $77 million. The problem is Medline, that idea is wonderful, but we have a dangerous highway out there. It's going to take years to fix the problem. There's been 952 accidents between 2012 and 2016. Since then, there has been several hundred more. 455 are rear-end collisions, okay? My wife was killed by a rear-end collision by an 80-year-old truck driver. It happens 3 times a week based on a lieutenant who shared that information with me. I've uncovered through my studies and everything that I've learned about how many accidents, and I have over 450 traffic accident reports from Louisiana State Police to verify all of this. It's not going to get better until the highway is expanded. The feeder routes at 1077 and Highway 21 that lead to Medline, it's going to be a traffic nightmare. It's going to add more traffic. And I'm just here to talk about common sense. You know, we're talking about safety over profits. You know, you talk about a 5-to-1 ratio of return. What about lives saved? What about people who have been mangled? I published something on Facebook. I had over 35 people call me with near-death experiences. No, they didn't file lawsuits, but they almost were killed. And I'm going to leave you with that. and think about common sense and do what's right. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Gus's. Mr. Randy Lowen. Oh, you knew you were next. You know better faster than
Yes,
I
sir.
did. I
Thank you, Mr.
appreciate that.
Chairman.
Thank you. No, I'm kidding you.
Randy Lowen with the milling
You go
firm.
ahead, sir.
As Mr. Lehman tell you, this is a good business. It's the wrong location. This is a death trap area. Ms. Brister has told us that. We all know that. We told you a lot about that in the last meeting in November. Tonight, we want to give you a little information that we weren't allowed to present at the last meeting. We've given you 3 exhibits that I want to introduce in the evidence. The first is the comprehensive zoning plan that was adopted in 2009. The parish took a lot of time to put this together, and I think, Mr. Dean, you even indicated at the last meeting that you worked this out with Mr. Wayner, that his property, when he bought it, it was residential. And then you decided with his acceptance that PBC2 was the right thing to zone this property for. And now he's got a part of that. He has a larger tract. Now he wants to take a part of that, and he wants to rezone it to PBC, to AM&L. And the interesting thing is that in his purchase agreement, we mentioned this to you last month, his purchase agreement says that in the event Medline doesn't buy this property, they're going to pay to put it back to PBC2. I think that's a blatant admission that PBC2 is the best use of this land. It's what it should be kept. There's no rational reason to change it. Let me tell you what the Louisiana Supreme Court says in the 4 States versus Baton Rouge case. And Baton Rouge tried to do something like this and do a piecemeal rezoning. They take a part of a property that's part of a comprehensive zone and then rezone it. The Supreme Court said rezoning on a piecemeal or spot basis is highly suspect. Generally, property owners may rely on the previous exercise of police power in zoning, expecting that changes in zoning will only be made so as to affect vested property interests when the change is required to assure public welfare. And you know that you're not assuring public welfare and safety when you put more trucks on this road. And it's not 170 trucks, as you've heard. It's more like probably 1,200. The 170 that goes out has to come back to be reloaded. This is a distribution facility that's the size of 6 Superdomes. It's going to distribute facilities into 5 different states. What about that? The medical facility is going to have equipment that comes in. It just doesn't appear. FedEx, other trucks are going to bring that in. 500 employees in and out. It's going to be a traffic nightmare. The Supreme Court went on to say, and I'll close with this, the record there, like here, establishes that only the subject property receives special treatment in the city rezoning regulations. The rezoning of the subject property is contrary to what is purported to be a long-term comprehensive plan. That's exactly what you're doing tonight. You're doing something contrary to the plan, special treatment for this one particular area. It's inappropriate, and I submit to you it's illegal. We've also given you some exhibits showing you some of the statistics that Mr. Lehman talked about, and those are in the record to show you how many deaths have occurred out here. Thank you.
Mr. Lowen, did you submit them to the record?
She has them.
You have them? Okay, I just want to make sure we have them in the record.
Yes, sir, you do. You have all the exhibits.
Thank you, sir. Is that Ronnie Spencer? Okay, I couldn't see the first list.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council.
Please state your name for us, please. Please state your name and address.
Ronnie Spencer. I live in Normandy Oak subdivision. I bring before you tonight a letter from Mr. Philip Lejeune, who's President and CEO of LLOG, who is stating his opposition to the Medline location. I'd like to take just a few minutes to read what Mr. Lejeune has shared with us here. To whom it may concern, LLOG Exploration Company, LLC, strongly opposes the request to rezone 90 acres from PBC2 planned business campus to AM&L, Advanced Manufacturing and Logistics. LLOG employs more than 120 employees who are primarily residents of St. Tammany Parish. LLOG also holds a significant ownership interest in its next-door neighbor, Stone Creek Club and Spa, which has approximately 5,000 members. The decision to locate LLG's headquarters in Stone Creek on Oshner Boulevard was based on the current zoning and plans for the area communicated at the time of purchase development. The proposed significant rezoning from PBC2 to AM&L aligned for a large-scale distribution center to operate here causes a great deal of concern to LOG employees, as well as at least a majority of Stone Creek current owners. It is also a near certainty that Stone Creek members share these concerns. Major concerns around the zoning and the potential impacts from this distribution center include the commercial trucks traveling in and out of the distribution center would not only intensify the traffic nightmare that already exists in this area. There have been several vehicular deaths on the I-12 Highway 22 corridor in recent years, mostly involving large trucks. Oshner Boulevard is much too narrow and turns are too sharp to safely handle the increased commercial truck traffic. This is of great safety concern to everyone who must enter and leave LLOG and Stone Creek utilizing Oshner Boulevard. The potential risk of flooding due to the removal of 46 acres of wooded area to be replaced with an approximately 2 million square foot concrete slab. This is equivalent, as you all have heard, to the size of 6 Superdomes. It is our understanding that the distribution center developer does not have any plans for additional retention ponds, but rather would utilize only the existing ponds in the area. The area is already flood prone. With additional displacement that would be caused by this facility, an already significant flooding problem would be exacerbated. We at LLOG respectfully join St. Tammany Parish President Pat Brister, the St. Tammany Parish Zoning Committee, and many of the area residents and business owners in opposing the proposed rezoning. Sincerely, Philip Lejeune, President and CEO. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Thank you.
He used that well.
I'd like to enter this into the record, please.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Wagner, I'm sorry, I thought you were up there. I looked up.
I was on my way.
No, go, come on, take your time.
I have Nancy Wagner, Coalition for Responsible Zoning. I have a statement from Stone Creek Club and Spa to read. The owners of Stone Creek Club and Spa, on behalf of the safety of over 200 employees and 5,500 plus members, formally opposes the Medline project. We ask the council to reject this rezoning request and leave the original zoning in place. Our company, along with LLOG Oil Company, have made major investments in this area, which we feel will be at greater risk if this project moves forward. Sincerely, the owners of Stone Creek Club and Spa. Approval of this ordinance would thrust 69 acres of heavy industrial uses right up the street from Stone Creek and Log. Any of the 15 permitted uses of AML could be introduced right here in this area. The council made it clear at the November meeting that this inappropriate zoning gave you no concerns, as you would simply rely on deed restrictions to make sure that none of what Mr. Toledano read aloud as unacceptable uses and confirmed by Mr. Mayron would be permitted. The reliance was despite the fact that Carlin Riles stated twice on the record it was improper to consider deed restrictions in a zoning matter. It is clear from the record that this council has no grasp of the use of deed restrictions. Mr. Lorino, in my meeting with you on November 5th, I asked you who would be expected to enforce these private deed restrictions. You ran your hand over the map and said, all of these homeowners associations, there's lots of attorneys living there. They can take Medline to court if they find violations, and if there's a recovery, they can get paid. For the council to proceed with this rezoning shows a callous disregard of the duty to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare of its citizens. Justifying your approval of this ordinance on conscripting of private citizens to work as unpaid code enforcement officers is an abuse of discretion. Tonight, you thanked many, many people here for their years of wonderful, dedicated, devoted service, which I certainly appreciate all of you for everything you do. But I would like to say you've thanked President Pat Brister for her leadership. I think you should follow her guidance. She stated that if you pass this ordinance, she will veto it. I think you should take that to heart, follow the guidance, and vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Mr. Don Alette. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Your name?
My name is Don Allette. I'm also with the Coalition for Responsible Zoning. I live in Flower Estates. I'm a registered professional engineer in Louisiana. A main purpose of the comprehensive rezoning of the parish that was completed 10 years ago is that home buyers or businesses would know what types of development are allowed in a given area when making a decision on whether or not to buy or locate there. The adoption of the rezoning ordinance that is being considered this evening would erode that trust in parish government. The negative impacts of the Medline Distribution Center would be unacceptable, but the potential impacts could be much worse if the Medline facility would be acquired by another company in the future. Once the rezoning to AML is granted, they could use it for any of the 15 uses allowed by AML zoning. Uses involving distribution and warehousing, as well as those involving manufacturing of glass, plastic, paint, and pharmaceuticals, are some of the most hazardous in terms of storage and transport of materials for operations in manufacturing and waste materials that would be generated. Area residents could have to live with strong odors from chemicals released by such uses of this facility, with possible long-term negative health effects caused by breathing these chemicals. Even worse than that would be the risks of accidents and chemical releases involving vehicles transporting these materials, as well as on-site mishaps such as spills, fires, explosions, or accidental releases that could require evacuations of thousands of people from many large nearby facilities and developments due to releases of hazardous chemicals into the air that could spread rapidly. These at-risk facilities and developments would include, among others, El-Log, Ochsner Clinic, and the proposed Ochsner Cancer Center, Brookstone Apartments, numerous subdivisions, Avanti Assisted Living Center, and Forest Manor Nursing Home. These last two are in extremely close proximity and would be very difficult to evacuate. It is the belief of the Coalition of Responsible Zoning, LLC, that the site for this AML rezoning would probably be in one of the very worst locations possible in the parish due to risks for the environment, human health, and safety, and especially given its very close proximity to Forest Manor and Avanti Assisted Living Center. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Teresa Crockett.
Thank you, Council. My name is Tessera Crockett. I'm a master's student with Southeastern Louisiana University. I work in wetland restoration as well as conservation, and I'm also here to speak on behalf of Healthy Gulf. These 69 acres of forest and forested wetlands that are under vote for rezoning today currently retain over 53 million gallons of water. Rezoning would put this water onto the already highly vulnerable and heavily impacted residents along the Tchefuncte River, including Flowers Bayou and the scenic Timber Branch. St. Tammany Parish has cost the United States taxpayers over $1.3 billion in hazard mitigation relief to flood-proof developments such as the structures proposed to be placed in these wetlands, proposed without adequate assessment of the increase to the drainage burden and flood risk to the local watershed. St. Tammany Parish has filled over 800 acres of wetlands within its non-structural project area in the last 5 years alone. These include unprecedented rates of clearing in the name of development. The CPRA states that the state of Louisiana and its taxpayers must spend over $1.2 billion to flood-proof existing homes in St. Tammany. This rezoning must not move forward without additional reassessment from CPRA. What is the increased cost to the annual flood damage for the state master plan project for St. Tammany? This proposal is inconsistent with the master plan's imperative that projects not alter the hydrology of these wetlands. St. Tammany does not consider the impact on these 70 acres of eliminating the forest canopy on these 69 acres in its drainage plans. The forest cover prevents 30% of rain from ever reaching the ground, and yet St. Tammany considers that wetland forest fill projects compensate 25% of the water displaced offsite. That 25% rule does not cover the additional water burden into the Timber Branch and Flowers Bayou area that clear cutting of this forest would add. Medline also wants to eliminate 53 acres of forested wetlands that provides floodwater retention on site, not detention, but retention in the soil. Projects like this and the poor planning and foresight are why we are seeing residents flood that have never flooded before in this parish. And it is why CPRA says that it will cost over $1.2 billion to secure this parish against flooding. The Tchefuncte River is a scenic river, and yet Medline does not have and has not applied for a scenic river permit. Additionally, they have not had an environmental impact statement done, nor have they included in their permit applications any information regarding local hydrology or floodplain mitigation. Covington had to get a permit for Patricia Canal, and this is no different. This rezoning must not move forward without the completion of these items. They're requesting that St. Tammany Parish put their residents, businesses, and communities at very large risk for very little gain. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Allen. No. I'm sorry?
Mr. Davis?
Oh, okay.
You're next.
Okay.
Then Mr.
My name is Alvin Davis. I'm a former senior vice president of Ladder and Blum Realtors. I have spent 41 years doing industrial real estate. I'm a member of the Society of Industrial and Office Realtors, which is a prestigious international group of specialists in industrial real estate. I thoroughly oppose this project. The project is going to bring industrial real estate next to residential. Where do you see this happening anywhere in our region? If you go to Elmwood in Metairie, it's away from houses. In New Orleans East, it's away from houses. In Kenner, it's away from houses. In Hammond, it's by the airport. In Baton Rouge, it's not even close to anything that has anything to do with residential. The industrial plex facility in Baton Rouge is very prosperous, and it's on Zigan Lane, away from everything. When I was a small boy, and this goes back some 80-something years ago, my mother read me a book, and I loved it. And I made her read me the book over and over and over again. And to this day, I love it. And in my office, I still have some little statues of this person. This person was very gullible. He listened to all the conversation that came from these people and people like him. And he got swallowed up into this conversation, and he ended up in the belly of a whale. You know who that was? Pinocchio. Pinocchio. He listened to all the things that these people along his journey said to him, and it got him in the belly of a whale. And if you listen to this conversation that they're giving you, as opposed to someone who is a specialist, if you have a heart attack, you go to a heart doctor. I'm an industrial specialist. It will not work. There's too much traffic, there's too much noise, there's too many problems. Please, I beg of you, vote against this. Your constituents do not want it. Only a handful of individuals do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Chairman Marino, council members. My name is Matthew Allen. As you know, I'm a certified floodplain manager through the Association of State Floodplain Managers. And I really don't have a big dog in this show, but I wanted to give you all some information on the flood issues with this. And you need to look at the flooding before zoning, and flooding is not drainage. This is water that's coming down from the north from the Tchefuncte River, which overflows its banks, and during major floods does inundate most of this area. And it goes all the way to I-12, where it then runs east into Flowers Bayou, right through where this site is. Now, the property is not in Flood Zone A on the effective firm from 1989, because Flowers Bayou was not studied in 1989. Now, this is a known flood area, and FEMA requires a consideration of all flood issues and to use the best available information for known flood areas which have not been studied. FEMA's latest base level engineering study is considered the best available and shows much of the property is inundated not only by the 1%, the so-called 100-year flood, but also the 10%, the 10-year flood. That does inundate a lot of this property right where this building site sits. Also, I read the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries comment to the Army Corps of Engineers wetland permit. And it also states that approximately 50 acres of wetlands on the site are some of the last in the Flower Bayou watershed. And as a lady before me said, these wetlands are invaluable for reduction of runoff and flood control. The current PBC2 zoning allows for much more flexibility to deal with the floodplain and wetland issues. Now, I was not able to make the last meeting, so I'm sorry about that, but I wanted to make sure you had this information. And lastly, I'd like to say that, and this is my opinion, placing a monolithic structure has a real potential to redirect floodwaters to the neighboring properties. The current zoning allows you much more flexibility of preserving wetlands and not redirecting floodwaters onto neighborings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Ms. Jackson?
My name is Barbara Jackson. The community surrounding the intersection of I-12 and Highway 21 is a very vital and flourishing part of our parish. The move to introduce zoning is a threat to the established needs and character of this community. When Mr. Weiner purchased the property, it was zoned residential. In 2009, as a part of the parish's comprehensive zoning plan, and as a result of discussions between Councilman Marty Dean and landowner Bruce Weiner, the property was zoned PBC2. For the past 10 years, Mr. Weiner has been satisfied with this appropriate zoning. At no time was Mr. Weiner or his attorney heard to complain about the nightmare traffic that would be brought to this area by PBC2. Only when the opportunity to sell a large parcel to Medline without having to do any further planning or development did the PBC2 zoning turn into a nightmare tale. A planned business campus would be developed as needed gradually and with an overall plan that would protect and serve the needs of the surrounding neighborhoods. The community continues to grow, and the need for PBC2 zoning is as important and appropriate now as it was in 2009. The character of the area as a destination for medical care and a good place to live, shop, and work is firmly in place. And the introduction of an industrial zone at this point in time is disruptive to the community's trajectory. If the council approves this ordinance, the residents of this community will have to work around a large industrial installation that does nothing to provide for the schools, restaurants, office spaces, assisted living, shops, or any other needed facilities as the community continues to grow. Residents would have to deal with streets clogged with 18-wheelers and run the risk of increased flooding. The current zoning of PBC2 serves the interests of public safety, health, and general welfare. The proposed rezoning does the opposite, benefiting the convenience and profit of the property owner and is injurious to other property or improvements in the surrounding neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Elsie Reed?
Mr. Chairman, it's Elise Reed. I live at 24 Community Drive in Flower Estates. Mr. Chairman and Commission members, I'd like to speak to you a little bit about the traffic that would be associated with construction of this project. All the statements that have been made so far by Medline and the developer's attorney concern activity once the facility is in operation. What has not been addressed in the public record are potential traffic loads and vibrations and noise generated when 69 acres of land are being drained, cleared, and filled, and when 2 million square feet of concrete is delivered and installed during construction. Mr. Dean, this is in your district. I would hope that you would consider these things these concerns that we have about traffic. In Montgomery, New York, the Planning Board spent nearly 2 years studying a similar Medline distribution center. In their findings, which were submitted to the Council record at the November meeting, they stated the following anticipated activity: 4,000 concrete truck deliveries estimated at 100 trucks per day for 8 weeks, 400 steel deliveries at 10 trucks per day over 8 weeks, 325 precast concrete deliveries at 9 trucks per day over 7 weeks, and an estimate of construction worker vehicles at 150 per day. And that site in New York was not wooded. The 69-acre tract in Covington will require all of the trucks necessary to haul out the trees and other natural materials, and then more trucks to haul in all the fill once that stuff is gone. There are only 2 ways in and out of this site: Oshner Boulevard to Highway 21, and the Oshner Extension to Highway 1085, which goes past Hennon High School. Such highly concentrated truck traffic will stress the property owners along these routes as well as the roadways themselves. Were these roads constructed to withstand this type of activity? If the site were built out at its current PBC zoning, the development would occur on a gradual basis and would not require the massive amount of forest destruction, infill, and concrete which this project would provide. I urge you to decline the request.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Alvin Davis? Okay. Mr. Jackson?
My name is Michael Jackson, but you can call me Mike. I live in Flowers Estates South, and I'm surrounded by Flowers Bayou. All these people here talking, you folks and everybody in the audience, you all sound a lot smarter than I am, so please bear with me. Now, I did send each and every one on this council and President Brister and President-elect Cooper a copy of a letter. Did you all get it? Okay, just out of curiosity, is anybody going to answer any of the questions on it? Okay. Well, just for the record, I'd like to read some of those questions. I'm assuming that the motivation behind the council's zealous push to approve Wayner Enterprises' sale to the property to Medline for its proposed expansion and the many benefits that the council perceives this expansion brings to our parish and to our local community, not to mention the many benefits it brings to Mr. Wayner himself. If this assumption is accurate, what value and improvements does Medline's expansion bring to our community in terms of quality of life for the local residents, us folks who live around here? Number one, will the traffic in our congested local streets improve? I don't think so. Will communities be safer from automobiles? Will it improve the environmental quality in the local area? Will the new facility be visible to local residents? Will it increase noise levels in the local neighborhoods? Will it be pleasing to the eye and make the area more attractive? Will it improve flooding and drainage issues? Will it improve the quality of water in our scenic bayous and rivers? Will it reduce air pollution and light pollution? Will it improve poorer conditions down over in lower the lower 30 in Covington? Will it improve our schools? Will it affect our property values in a positive way and not a negative one? Will Medline receive any tax incentives or benefits? I'm sure that one assumed benefit the council in Medline may herald is jobs. I hear a number 200. Well, is that going to be above and beyond what they have now, or is it going to expand by 200? I have a whole lot more questions, but I see my time's running out. So I'd just like to say, I'm neither a politician nor a developer, and I'm sure you know a lot more about all this stuff than I do. But I implore you and the council members, all of you, to listen to your constituents. I speak for myself, but I can assure you that I'm not alone. A large and representative number of voters and my fellow citizens sincerely and genuinely believe that the building of a huge Medline facility in our community on the site now owned by Wayner Enterprises is a bad idea. I'm confident you agree that not all residents and everything we say is not about emotion, even though I get emotional. So in closing, let me suggest that you do this. Listen to the skeptics. Pay attention to what we have to say, even though at times what we may be motivated by our feelings and anger and disenfranchised, contrary to how you feel about the mayor. Try as hard as you might at times to see things from our perspective. Change should be for the right reasons and not for one person's or corporation's profit and gain. This is our parish and our home. None of us is against economic development. We just want our public representatives to be smart about it. Listen to your fellow citizens. Stand up for us and do what we have to.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Hebert?
Deborah Hebert, I'm part of the Coalition for Responsible Zoning. More than half of the current Medline employees live in Tangipahoa Parish. They will spend their income there. They will pay their taxes there. More so if Medline is located at this current location than at 1088 or 434 or in Pearl River. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Dorsky?
Howdy.
Dorsky.
My name's Dwight Doskey, and I've been listening to everything going on
What's your
tonight.
address, sir?
Excuse me?
Your address. Your address.
My address is 33 Hyacinth in Flowers Estates.
Thank you.
On that. And I want to say I am one of the lucky ones, really. I've managed to have my family here in St. Tammany for 70 years. And in the 60s, I got to roam all around St. Tammany, going through the woods, listening to the birds sing. It's definitely one of the lucky ones. And I'm going to St. Paul's, great class, you know. Paul Cortez, Larry Smith, Peter Garcia, Keith Villery, Mike Cooper, and Reuben Marone on that. In fact, our graduating class party was over at the Marone spread on that. Now, I realize that we can't turn back the hands of time. The St. Tammany's going forward. And growth means luring new people and new businesses in. But to lure them in, we need reliability. And that's what the 2025 plan was all about. It was a promise to each and every person who wanted to locate here of how we would expand and how we would expand responsibly. I was one of the lucky ones. I'm still one of the lucky ones. If you vote to allow Medline in, I'm still young enough to move. I'm still strong enough to lift everything, to plant new plants someplace else. I am still financially able to do so. But not all my neighbors are in the same boat. Many of them are too old. Many of them are not strong enough. Many of them have invested every cent in their houses, relying upon the 2025 plan that this council approved. And when it did so, this council recognized in its forward that it would take strong leadership to stick to the plan. My neighbors committed to St. Tammany, sure that this council would commit to them. That's what the 2025 plan was for. Tonight, I'm not asking you to vote against Medline for me. I was one of the lucky ones. I'm still one of the lucky ones. But this council can reaffirm its commitment to good government, to the 2025 plan, and to responsible zoning. This council, by denying Medline's request for rezoning, can let all the residents of St. Tammany share in the title of lucky ones. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Scott?
Scott's wife is ill and he had to go. and take care of his wife.
Okay.
Appropriately so.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Tim Hodges? Hodges, I can't make it out. Hodgins?
Thank you very much. My name is Tim Hodgins. I live here in St. Tammany Parish, and I'm a proud resident. My wife and I have moved 11 times in the last 40 years, and we've lived and grew up in Destin, Florida. Most of you guys have been there. Moved there in 1963. And if you go there right now, you understand the chaos and the confusion that goes on in that community. We also lived in Woodstock, Georgia. That is a growth community in North Atlanta. We also lived in Williamson County, Franklin, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville. The reason why I bring that to your attention is because 3 years ago, my wife and I, we relocated here. But my wife is retired as a college professor. I work in Baton Rouge. I selected this parish to live here for a purpose. Now, odds are my wife and I will probably leave this community probably in the next 4 years because we'll retire, we'll go to Georgia where our family's at. But I'm interested in the resale value. I did my due diligences when I had an opportunity to move in this state from Florida, and I picked this parish, my location where I live. I'm concerned about this development, primarily because of the fact of the way where I live and how it all transfers over. Come to my house at 4:30 in the morning as I'm getting ready to go to the work, and you hear the off-cycle road noise rumbling along the interstate. I live about 1.5 miles away. I just wonder what's going to happen. My father-in-law, we moved into Avanti. He was the second gentleman to ever move into the Avanti Retirement Center. Well, unfortunately, he passed away. I don't know if I would have selected my home where I bought it and moving him into Avanti if I knew what was going to be going on along Oshner. I am a calm, concerned, non-hysterical citizen of this community. I think that everybody should rewind the tape and all the accolades that you gave each other during your presentation and listen to what you said. If you truly listen to what you guys say, you referenced the interstate, you referenced the deaths, you referenced how the west portion of this community grew. And congratulations to you for managing that side of the parish. But every one of you guys shook your head and you nodded about how the west side of this parish is growing and how it's becoming. Even the roads that we've all discussed, 1077, 1085, et cetera, every one of you mentioned it in all of your accolades. And I just kind of wonder how the last vote when I was here went 12-0 without anybody voting for the constituents that are sitting here. There's thousands of people. I didn't even put together the 5,000 people that work out in the community. Why Oshner built on Oshner Boulevard and what else is happening there. So again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your investment. I've sat in your seats in 3 different communities, but I need for you to really listen to what we're all saying here, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Miss Margie?
Hello, Margie Vicknair-Prey, Lacombe, Louisiana. Hello to my favorite council person over there.
Hello, ma'am.
I'm here also as myself as a resident of St. Tammany, but also as a Sierra Club staff person here in Louisiana. Everything I would have said has really been said pretty well. The only thing I haven't heard anyone talk about a lot, and it's something that we've talked about in the past, is the amount of development going on and how our planning and zoning is overwhelmed really with requests to change the way things are zoned. Just in this document, there are over a dozen requests to take properties that were zoned one thing and zone them into something that allows more development, basically, which goes against the plan, the 2025 plan, and any other intelligent development plan. You can't keep squishing more things into an area that people looked at and said, okay, it'll be good for this, but then we're going to squish in now and change it and subdivide it up even more. That can't keep being done. That's one of the main problems with the development out in western St. Tammany as well as the rest of St. Tammany and probably everywhere. It's trying to squeeze as much out of something as we can. And we can't keep doing that for intelligent development. We've got to come to a point where we realize certain areas can't be used for certain things. And covering up an area like this, which, by the way, if you look at our own parish drainage maps, is a known drainage area and a known retention area. And if we go in there and allow somebody to bulldoze all the trees down, fill it with fill, and then lay cement over it, you're talking about some serious water that's got to go somewhere that used to hang out there. And there are homes not too far, a quarter of a mile away, whatever, and plus Oxner and all the area and all the homes north of there, because that water won't just sit there, and the interstate kind of will stop it from going south. That area already has flooding problems on a regular basis. You know, the roads flood and people's homes are in danger. So doing something where we subdivide even further and add more damage into the area and a facility that is not really appropriate for the area, and I can personally vouch that I have several doctors out on Highway 21, and I hate going to them because of having to go down the interstate and get off on 21 now. I can't imagine more truckloads of semis going through and having to deal with that. So just personally, I dread the thought of any more major traffic on that area or in that exit area. And I've sat for 3 hours coming from Baton Rouge when the avocado truck ran in and killed people and burned up right at Highway 21. That area is a horrible area to add any more traffic to that we don't have to. So please reconsider and vote against this. Thank you.
Thank you, Margie. I want to thank everybody. We made it through the cards, and I want to thank, it was very well presented, Nancy, and I know you had a lot to do with that, so I just want to acknowledge that also. Mr. Dean.
Mr. Groby have something?
Well,
As council from the district, I'll let him go.
yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Dean has a motion to approve. Is there a second? I'm sorry. Oh, Ms. Blanchard, second. Mr. Groby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concerns tonight are the same as they were last month. I'll go a little bit more in detail tonight. Listening to all that's been said from the developer's proposal and the citizens, my concern is more so a little bit more baseline. I'm concerned about the possible abatement of property taxes on such a large facility. I have a very bad taste in my mouth in District 7 for the Lacombe Distribution Center. I know that it may not be the same as this one, whether it's 20 years or 10 years, I don't know. None of the council will know because we're not told anything about it. And if we do find out, it's only because we probably have to put in a public records request, which I had to do to find out about the one in Lacombe. But setting that aside, in an email I received from the Economic Development Division, Mr. Madison Gill, very well laid out. No promises were made, but expectations are that they will be given a healthy abatement. I understand that that's how you get businesses in. I truly do. I got it, okay? They get tax write-offs on their land and their property taxes with the pilot agreement, which is a payment in lieu of taxes. They most probably will give money, the proper amount of money, to the local fire department to uphold them, and maybe one or two other, the rec district or something else. We don't know yet. But in District 7, Fire District 3, my fire division, my fire department, or our fire department, quite frankly, is rolling back services because of limited income. And a large part of that is because all of the properties that are governmentally owned, from the Social Security to the college to the coroner's office, that entire corridor, as a public building, are tax exempted. The fire department gets no millage. But more so than just the fire department, the other ones that may be impacted are Stark, which is our St. Tammany Special Needs Citizens, Coast, the Council on Aging. They get nothing from the Lacombe Distribution Center. The school board gets nothing. Alimony 1, my road and maintenance district, my money I had to spend to fix a bad corner because the trucks keep tearing it up, gets no money from the Lacombe Distribution Center.
at minimum, those are the ones that have the deepest impact against the existing. There may be others, smaller millages. Those are the agencies that need the money in a sense, especially Coast and Stark. School board needs a little money, but they're not hurting. But Coast and Stark, of all the groups out there that draw millage money that may be impacted if an agreement comes up, they're going to feel it the most. So I hope and truly hope any consideration is given that if an agreement is set in place, those agencies are remembered and remembered at the full load. They need the money. I would hope that those in the development industry and the business industry understand what it means to take taxes away from these agencies. They didn't take it away. They're not going to have to give it to them. And I hope and pray that they remember at least those two agencies, the Council on Aging and the Special Needs Citizens of this parish. They need the money. And we're all facing a budget crunch up here, and that impacts this parish, and that impacts this parish's giving to other agencies such as the food bank and special housing needs also. So in closing, I hope that the various abatements are reconsidered. I hope that they don't give any, quite frankly, but it ain't going to happen that way. But I really do need to have people take a look at what this will impact this entire parish, especially District 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Groby, appreciate it. Seeing no one else in the queue, please vote.
Motion passes 10 yeas, 2 nays, 2 absent.
Thank you. Okay. We'll take about a 5-minute break and
All about the money. Pad your pockets.
Those two guys. There's 1, 2, 3 guys.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to get started.
Mr. T, you let Mr. Belisario go. That means you.
Hey, Jane, I know it's your last meeting. I know you don't want to leave us, but how about getting in the chair so I can go home?
Steve's out there, too.
Hey, Steve. Steve. Mr. Fitzgerald. It's Toledano.
David.
Okay, we got it.
Boom here.
Number 3 on the consent calendar.
Yes, ma'am. I'm ready to roll as soon as I get in the chair.
Come on, Steve. Steve, get in your chair.
Come on.
You can't leave right now.
You can't leave.
All right. Okay, we're gonna get started. Yeah, TJ's here too now.
There's exactly 8.
TJ's here. Call the meeting back to order. We'll go to ordinance for introduction. Number 3, ordinance calendar number 6288, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 0.33 acres from A-3 to A-3 and MHO Ward 2, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald, I think you want to postpone this until they have a hearing in January?
Correct.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Fitzgerald,
So moved.
second by Mr. Thompson. Please vote. Thank you.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Thank you. We'll go to number 7, ordinance calendar number 6292, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 0.75 acres from A-2 to A-2 and MHO Ward 7, District 7. Mr. Groby.
Thank you. We need to postpone this because it was a last-minute appeal filed under the deadline, so we'll move to postpone.
Okay, motion by Mr. Groby, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote. Chris, raise his hand first.
Okay.
I would never do such a thing. I would never do. If you took the time to raise your hand, I'm going to call on you, buddy.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Okay, number 18. Ordinance calendar number 6303, ordinance to amend the 2020 operating budget amendment. That would be, what we got? Yep. There you go, young. There you go. Okay. This is the ordinance amendment. The amendment to budget increase expenditures for the increase of Parochial Employees Retirement System, PERS, contribution rate from 11.5 to 12.5, as well as to provide a pool for salary adjustments to be made by the incoming parish administration. I have a second. A motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Thompson. Please vote. No vote, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We'll go to resolutions. Resolution CS number C-6197, resolution to take action on warranty and performance obligations. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Groby.
We need an amendment.
We need an amendment for that, but Mr. Shane wants to speak on this, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to the obligation for River Cross Park in Mr. Thompson's district on Highway 25, we have worked today with engineering, Mr. Watson, with finance, Ms. Long, and we would request that the council consider extending the obligation for 90 days so that this matter would come back to you in March. The obligation actually expires next Friday, December 13th. We understand that we have to provide a rider to the warranty obligation of the bond that's been posted so that it will be maintained. Much, if not all, of the work has actually been now completed, but it has not, probably all of the documents have not been submitted to the appropriate department. I'm sure the inspections have not been completed.
5, ordinance calendar number 6266, ordinance to extend for an additional 6 months the moratorium on the opening of new streets in Angela Estates, Ward 3, District 5. Mr. Toledano.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 6, ordinance calendar number 6267, ordinance to extend for additional 6 months the moratorium on property abutting Louisiana Highway 21 planned corridor for Brewster Road north to Azalea Drive, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean. Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 7, ordinance calendar number 6268, ordinance to amend the parish code to provide for enforcement by the Justice of the Peace Courts and constables.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Ms.
Steve.
What I said?
Steve.
Oh, Justice of the Peace. Okay. Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Ms. O'Brien. Please vote. Yeah.
Mr. Toledano.
I was listening to Mr. Dean. He was trying to get the spelling correct on moratorium.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 8, ordinance calendar number 6269, authorizing the parish president to acquire parcels for Lake Superior Drainage Project, Ward 8, District 8. Mr. Canulet.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Canulet, second by Mr. Balisaro. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 9, ordinance calendar number 6270, ordinance authorizing the parish president to acquire parcels from the Aberdeen Drainage Improvement Project, Ward 8, District 9.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Groby. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 10, ordinance calendar number 6271, ordinance amending the official planning zoning map to reclassify 2 acres from A-2 to PF-1, Ward 1. Mr. Dean. Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Mr. Smith, I have you coming, sir. I have you coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council members, I'm Alan Smith. My wife and I are residents of Beta Cove Creek Preserve. Been there 5.5 years, seeing the community grow from 40 families to over 500. We are very blessed that hopefully the commission agrees to put a fire station right next door. However, we are seriously concerned about the safety of our firefighters and our residents. The intersection there, as you know, on 1085 is a moon-shaped intersection. There's no traffic control whatsoever. The speed limit is 55 miles per hour. I sent an email to the LADOTD. Mr. Dean has agreed with me, or agreed with the email. Here's the quote from the Louisiana Department of Transportation. From Larry Sharp, District 62 Administrator, dated August 5th of this year. To Councilman Dean, quote, "There is not a pattern of correctable crashes at this location to warrant us to do anything." Okay, our contention is we don't need a pattern of correctable accidents. We need to prevent correctable crashes. I can't find any volunteers from our community who want to participate and be a volunteer to be in a crash. As recently as last Friday, coming south on 1085, about 50 yards from where the new fire station's going to go, a pickup truck passed a garbage truck on a solid yellow line, and by about, I was behind them, missed the head-on collision by about 10 seconds. If we don't put some kind of traffic control there for the firefighters and for the residents, there are going to be some serious correctable crashes. We'd like to prevent that before it happens, before there are deaths and accidents. And we just ask that some immediate action be taken if and when, hopefully when, this is approved to ensure the safety of our firefighters and our residents. We ask you to please, please take this into consideration with the approval.
Well, Mr. Smith,
Thank you.
You just heard me speaking about 22.
Yes, sir.
As I sit here today, we had a meeting just today's Thursday, on Wednesday. They are letting out the project to put a roundabout at 1085 as we speak.
And 22.
And 22. That was done by the study, the moratorium, and having the study, and then the RPC funded that completely, along with $200,000 from the state of Louisiana. That work should begin probably within the next 6 months.
God bless.
Okay.
But the traffic lights, or the blinking lights that were put up, Mr. Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, were not approved by the LA DTOD. Those were just done by the parish.
Well, yes, but once again, that was also because the parish asked them to do that at the time, and that was the best they could do because they had no money at the time.
Yes, sir.
For the roundabout. Now they have the roundabout. It's getting ready to be let out.
That's
to
wonderful.
Start the construction, so you can share that with all your neighbors.
Absolutely, and just
Yes,
hope
sir.
that this part is
And
considered
Mr. Dean,
also.
And Mr. Dean was right there with it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Dean.
Yes, sir. Is it on? Is it on?
You're good, buddy.
At the very least, and may I ask Sidney a question?
You go. You had the mic.
notice how I did the Robert's Rule? I asked you if I could ask him.
Mr.
I don't
Dean,
just
I
call-
appreciate that. Yeah, yes, sir. You had permission to talk to Mr. Patton.
All right. I mean, surely there's some kind of regulation or policy or whatever that whenever you do put in a fire station, there's got to be lights, or there's got to be something warning people that there's a fire station coming up. Do you know of any? Got to be. I mean, because that's some kind of erratic traffic coming out of that fire station.
They don't have any kind of light coming out. I can think of some that do, but I can also think of some that don't.
Okay.
I don't believe the one on Dogtown Road has a light at that intersection.
Just to kind of notify, and maybe that's where we can go, is we can get some kind of
But it's also-
notification that's coming up.
It's a state highway, So
Well, so is
DOTD
22, so maybe we can do the same thing. Okay.
DOTD has,
TJ off.
and I don't know if you remember the difficulty in getting that stoplight at Bootlegger in.
22.
It took a death. And
Yeah.
a little girl at the state legislature,
And I think we put the lights up, correct?
something like that.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 11, ordinance calendar number 6272, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 2.66 from A-1, A-2, Ward 3, District 5. Mr. Toledano. Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Balisaro. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 12, ordinance calendar number 6273, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 5 acres from A-2 to A-2 and MHO, Ward 7, District 11. Mr. Stefanczyk. Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Mr. Smith. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 14, ordinance calendar number 6275, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map and reclassify 6.25 acres from NC-4 and A-4 to PF-1, Ward 4, District 7. Motion by
skipped
Mr.
one.
Groby,
You skipped one.
second. Oh,
Want to come back.
That's okay.
Finish this and come back.
which one I skipped?
The 13th.
Oh, I'm sorry, I crossed out Mr. Smith, I'm sorry. I apologize, TJ. I got you, buddy.
Okay.
Okay,
so
but anyway,
Groby
Jake,
moved.
I'm going to stick with Jake's right now. Motion by Mr. Groby, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
You need a comeback motion?
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Make a motion to draw back to the preceding one.
Number 13, thank you, Balisaro. Number 13, ordinance calendar number 6274, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 0.204 acres from A-3 to A-3 and MHO, Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Smith.
I said, as we make this motion to adopt. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lorino.
Are you making a motion to adopt?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Yes.
Moving along.
Steve.
He made a great comment.
There you go. You like that, huh? You like that, huh? All right. All right, motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Please vote. All right, I did take care of
Motion
it.
is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, number 15, ordinance calendar number 6276, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 7.675 acres from A-3 and NC-4 to NC-5, Ward 1, District 4.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Groby. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
16, ordinance calendar number 6277, ordinance amending the official planning zoning map to reclassify 2.45 acres from A-2 to A-4, Ward 7, District 7. And we have a couple of speakers, Ms. Charlotte Carrillo. Ms. Charlotte?
Kind of late for me. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, you take it. I understand.
No,
It's late for all of us.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for letting me appear before you. The reason I want this zoned is because it's a tract of land that I inherited from my family. It's been in the family for over 40 years. So now is the time for me to turn this over to the children. I need to have it divided up so that I can give each one of my children a parcel of land. It does not work. I found out too late in life that you just can't have one tract and have all 6 of my children coming in on it. There's going to be some contention on some of them. As you all probably know, if you have children, this may happen to you. So this is my request.
Yes, ma'am.
That we can work this out where I can give each one their own parcel of land.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you all.
Mr. Matthew Ladner?
How you doing? Matthew Ladner, Picking, Mississippi. I'm Miss Carollo's son, the youngest out of the 6 children. We were trying to get this property rezoned so that she can divide it up and give it to us 6 children. The main reason was when my father passed away, my parents were divorced. When my father passed away, his property was donated. He had 7 acres, and all 6 of us, all of our names were on it. And when it came time to decide if we were going to keep it, if it was a rental property, or if we were going to sell it, the kids were divided. So half of us wound up having to take loans and mortgages out to go ahead and pay for this, to buy out the other siblings' shares. So there's a lot of contention. It kind of tore us as a family apart for a little while. And, I saw how my mom just saw it all. And, the biggest thing is she didn't want that to happen to her. She's basically trying to keep the peace. I know some of the issues are, they're like, well, if we get divided, Mr. Groby said at one time, if we get it subdivided, we're looking at issues for drainage. This current parcel is on the highest of the street, so I don't see where it could be a drainage issue at the time. The LSU flood map saying that right where we are is 18.3 feet above sea level. Further down Barry Todd Road, it's at 12 feet. So we are the highest. I don't think we'd bring in any increase of water in the area. Also, south of us and north of us, property is zoned A4. So we're the only A2 in the little area that we're at. So I don't see where it could be an issue to have it rezoned just for the purposes of subdivision. We're not planning on developing right now, just if something happens.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. We had a motion and a second. Please vote. Number 17.
Wait.
You got it, ma'am?
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
17, ordinance calendar number 6278, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1.74 acres from A-5 to MD-1 to A-5, Ward 4, District 5.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Taladano, second by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 18, ordinance calendar number 6279, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 0.61 acres from A-4 to A-4 MHO, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 19, ordinance calendar number 6280, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1 acre from A-4A to A-4A and MHO, Ward 8, District 14. Mr. Smith? Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Stavancic. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 20, ordinance calendar number 6281, ordinance to amend 2000 operating budget amendment. Mr. Taladano? Motion by Mr. Taladano, second by Mr. Balisaro. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 21, ordinance calendar number 6282, ordinance to create prospective precincts, change the configuration, boundaries, or designation of its election precinct. Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Ms. Blanchard. Please vote.
Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, I pushed the button too quickly. Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 22, ordinance calendar number 6283, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 3.93 acres located south of Highway 435, east of West Mermaid Lane, west of White Oak Lane, Abita Springs from A-1 Suburban District to RO Rural Overlay to HC-3 Highway Commercial District and RO Rural Overlay, Ward 6, District 6. Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Mr. Balisaro. Please vote.
Mr. Fitzgerald. Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 24, ordinance calendar number 6285, ordinance to amend the 2000 operating budget, amendment number 1. Motion by Mr. Toledano, who's sleeping, second by Mr. Balisaro. Please vote. He forgot his finance chairman.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Mr. Hernandez gives you compliments, and then you're sitting over there sleeping. Okay, off the floor, I need a motion. If I can have a motion,
So moved.
it has to be unanimous. Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Grovey. Please vote. I had 6 at one time. You can't get 2 sometime.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Resolution to amend ordinance CS number 18-3977 to make changes to the 2019 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Mr. Stefanczyk. Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote. You woke up.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 2, resolution to amend ordinance CS number 19-4050, the 2019 grant budget. Mr. Stefanczyk. Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Ms. Blanchard. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 3, resolution of consent for the assignment of franchise agreement rights to Magnolia Water Utilities Operating LLC.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote. Yes, sir, you go ahead.
Environmental, with this company buying out the coast water systems and H2O, is Magnolia a company that's done business, or they're doing business in the parish with us right now?
No, my understanding is they haven't done any business here in the parish.
Are they nearby, like in Tangi or Washington Parish?
I know that they're purchasing some other assets. Modad Systems is included in this acquisition. I believe the parent company is out of Missouri.
Okay.
It is.
Whose council district
Mine.
is kind of following? Yours? I'll help you with this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Want you to pay it off?
Thank you. I can use some money if you got. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we had a motion and a second.
Yes.
Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number 4, motion to refer to Planning Zoning Commission the proposed ordinance to amend parish code regarding the review of St. Tammany Parish Gravity District Number 5.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Balisaro. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
I have a motion by Mr. Thompson to adjourn, and Mr. Balisaro second.
All right.